I project myself outside of myself, and I talk to myself when I'm speaking. That's what I do. That's the honest to God. That's the honest to God's truth. You ask me the question, nobody's ever asked me this question. So what I do is I literally, when I'm standing up speaking, I've been in lectures, and I've probably done over 1,000 lectures and workshops. I send myself out, and I watch myself talk, and I observe myself as I'm a person in the actual audience listening to myself talk, and then I'm teaching myself. And so I have the confidence, I have the strength, I have the power, because I know this version of me knows exactly what's going on, what to say, and what the answers are. And then as myself on the other end, the reason why I do that is because now I'm understanding how I'm perceiving it as a person who may have a lower level of knowledge. And so I'm breaking it down from this position. It's kind of complicated in a way that myself can understand it if I didn't know as much. And which is why I've been able to communicate with so many vast arrays of topics and so many people, because I could take complex ideas and concepts and break it down and make it simple and understandable for the average person. But I do it to myself.
High level, B. 19 keys. 19 keys.
I appreciate my pops for teaching me how to be a guy.
From a boy to a man, and ultimately back into the natural state of being, into a God.
As guys, we're supposed to always move with that higher self.
But I have to be able to execute it. Having knowledge is not power. The execution of knowledge is power.
Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. Because the only real knowledge you can get is knowledge of self.
This is the highest level. The highest level is ownership. The highest level is power. The highest level is sovereignty. The highest level is higher consciousness. The highest level is when we own our own culture.
Excellence at a very high level. Appreciate it. Not eye level. A high like that.
It's time for a high level conversation.
We're here for another high level conversation.
19 keys, and this is a high level conversation. Tap in with the God.
Well, this is the first ever high-level conversations live edition, and y'all are part of history, so make some noise for yourselves one time. Come on.
We are a powerful people. I know you feel it in your chest. We will always be a powerful people. Only through disillusionment does our soul find its true rest.
What now? What now? I can't lie because what this is a dangerous mind. I can't lie because we just stepped into a high level conversation. I need you both. I need you both. I said I can't lie. I said I can't lie. Damn, I can't lie. That's it.
The man, the myth, the legend, the legendary 19 keys. Make some noise, y'all. Let's get it. High-level conversations live.
Peace, family. It's good to see all you beautiful people here today. I first and foremost want to thank you for showing up for yourself. We living in the midst of one of the most treacherous and dangerous times to be alive, but it's also one of the most beautiful times to where we can thrive and be at our best. Today, the fight that I always speak upon, the greatest fight that each and everybody has, is a fight for your mind. See, the devil's greatest job is to distract you. He has no other job but that, really, is to distract you. See, in hypnosis, the only way that you can get the mind to receive something is when it's distracted. So you got your left brain, which filters things to make sure that that which you are receiving in your right brain, your imagination, is real and it's not harmful to you. So the hypnosis guys, what he does is he tries to put your left brain to sleep by distracting it or putting you in a low state of vibrational frequency. See, the same thing that is done on a consistent and daily basis, when you open your phone, when you look at TV, when you talk to a friend, all they talk to you about is distractions. And they don't even realize it. Every time you go and open that phone, there's another distraction putting your mind to sleep, literally putting you at a low frequency. But the highest frequency, they consider that to be gamma. You have a heightened sense of focus, a heightened sense of alertness, a higher sense of emotional resilience. Things are not triggering you. You're getting work done. You are in a state of flow. We are able to take the ideas that exist in your imagination and you can bring them into reality. But see, they know that. And today is election night. Election night. Even though the rest of the year they didn't spend every single day educating you on the bills. They didn't spend every single day helping you understand the political process. No, they don't want you to be educated on lobbying and voting and how the decisions are made at each and every level. Because then you'll be thinking and you'll put a higher degree of responsibility onto them. No, we want the greatest choices that you have to make are the ones that you think the least about. The way you eat, the people you are around, the things you think, the people you vote for. They are all oversimplified because when it's time for you to do the thinking, you are distracted the whole time, so you don't really know what to think about it. So we look for somebody else. Tell me, yo, what you think about this? Because the whole time you weren't thinking at all. See, high-level conversations is all about getting you to think. Allowing you to become a lion in the midst of wolves or in the midst of sheep. Because there are shepherds, there's wolves, and there's sheep. See, sometimes the sheep is fooled, thinking that the shepherd is there for them, but really, that's a wolf that's coming to eat you. This government, pharmaceutical companies, the food that we eat, these are all wolves. They don't care about your well-being. They don't care about your life. You are nothing but cattle to them. If you allow yourself to be. And the only ones that they respect are those who operate on a higher frequency domain. The ones who are not asleep. You know that stage in sleep is called theta waves. When your brain is in a deep, deep sleep. Right? It's right before beta. See, most people are asleep as they walk around because thinking is a very deliberate action of a human being. And we do very little of it on a daily basis. I was just teaching my students in the BWO about, circadian rhythms. Anybody heard about that? How many people heard about ultradian rhythms? Ultradian rhythms, circadian is a 24-hour cycle of what the body goes through biologically. So there's times when you're more heightened, times that you should eat, times you should defecate, times that you even for intimacy. There are different cycles that your body actually goes through on the biological rhythm. Ultradian rhythms are different states that you go through throughout the waking day that lasts about an hour and a half. So the way that it works is you have a 90-minute cycle from the time that you are waking up that starts to begin to where you're at a heightened sense of focus, to where you can get the most work done. Then you start to go through a slow cognitive decline to where you go through a cycle of a little stress. That work you was doing that was easy to do becomes a little harder. And then they have an alternating healing process that takes about 20 minutes. So you have cycles within cycles. Then there's the infraradian rhythm. That infraradian rhythm is like the menstrual cycle. It's not 24-hour or particularly a day, but there are more cycles. Same way that we have cycles of the moon, and it's a 13-month calendar. See, most of the time we are so off rhythm from our cycles that we don't know when it's the best time to do things. Right? See, this world is built off understanding you and making you the product of your own cycles. They know when you're stressed, so they know when to sell you things. They know when you have fear and irrationality. They know that December is a cycle of the month when most people start to catch seasonal depression, when you're not feeling good about things. So they're not going to have you voting in the times of summer. No, you got to vote when you're depressed so that they can play upon those fears. Vote comes from the word votum, meaning to pledge to a deity or a god. The entity of the government is the God, and they put representatives for you to vow a pledge to so that you can surrender, so that they can save and they can think for you. See, everything about this system has been designed. We go through economic cycles to where we have great activity, we have peaks, then we have recessions. It's the same thing within the body. Some of you all think that you're at a low point in life, but you're just at a cycle in your life. You're going to have cycles where your business activity and performance is at a height, and then other times you're supposed to go through a recession. That wasn't your normal activity, so that you can get to an average of where you're at in life. And the more you increase within those cycles, the higher heights that you have. See, I started studying this because we're teaching people how to develop a supermind, to where you're always tapped into a flow based on having a knowing and understanding of who you are. I said, what if, you know, everybody heard of the FBI, right? Y'all heard of the FBI? Okay then. No black people heard of them. So like the FBI, CIA, they keep files on people, right? So they have an emotional and a psychological profile of you, right? They know your personality type, they know your age, they know traumas that happened to you. They have a whole scientific profile, right? So they can understand what triggers you, right? They know your sexual habits, every single thing, because they need to understand you. The more they can understand you, they can manipulate you, they can control you, or they can place you amongst in their agency. They need to understand how the human being will react based off environmental factors, socioeconomic factors, trauma-based factors, a multitude of different things. Now imagine if you had a foul on yourself where you understood how to control yourself. See, a lot of things that we look at as bad, we don't realize that they can be utilized as tools for ourselves for good. So one thing I started teaching people, how to create a foul on yourself. Right? How many people here took an ACEs test? ACEs test is the Adverse Childhood Experiences. Now, we heard of epigenetic trauma that's passed down in the DNA based on slavery. Some people will say it's about 7 to 12 generations deep. So that means that all of the history in your family, you are the product of that. All of that information, all of those experiences, all of those memories are not your own. So the way that you think sometimes, the way that you act, the way that you feel, your trigger responses, right? The way that you may be having an addictive personality, it's not because of you. All of that is a culmination of what's in your DNA. So you have to learn how to rewrite the sequencing of things that's in your DNA. There's something that happens in the mind when we learn something new, where we have a previous idea of something. That's the phase where we go through called the locking and the unlocking. We have locked in perspectives about the world, and those are the ones that are hardest to change. Often, our faith, our belief, and our languages. Each and every one of you, if you were born to a different set of parents in a different geographical location, with a different religion and a different language, you would be a completely different person. Even if you had the same parents, but all the other factors were different. The way you see, perceive, and feel about the world politically, economically would all be different. That means that we are just subjects of our programming. So when I see somebody I disagree with, right, people that be in the comments, people that be trolling, people that be hating, that's just their programming. They don't know me, they just triggered. Right? They see the crown be shining a little extra too hard. They don't like that. I'm not mad. That's their programming. Right? They see a black man who has the ability to speak on an intellectual level, and now they trigger. They don't like that. See, when you don't find that deep inside of you and that potential to bring it out, you're mad that somebody else had the audacity to do that for themselves. But see, I was taught that gratefulness is a tactic to win the war in life. See, if you find yourself jealous of somebody, you want what they have and you don't want them to have it. It's a frequency. Jealousy is a frequency. You can feed into it. Man, you just keep watching that person and you want their life and you want to replace them for it. Right? Or you're envious, you want what they have. You just look at what everybody else has on social media. You just want that car, you want their woman. Right? You want everything that they have. Ladies, you want their man. I ain't forget about y'all. But what I learned, because I have, a large number of brothers, is how to control the frequencies of jealousy and envy. Why? Because I realized I had to share this earth with them. They all look like me. So that means that, well, we all look like each other. I know I'm in the ego right now. It's cool. I got 7 brothers, 2 sisters. But I realized, you know, we'd go out, we'd talk to women. And I used to think I'd be the only one that can get them. And then my younger brother, he learned game too. He hit them with the eyes and everything. And he had them hypnotized. So I said, all right, I ain't the only one. Because I got the game from my older brother. But then I had to train myself to make sure that I understood if I was ever jealous of one of my brothers. So that I could never allow that to become who I am. It's a thought that you stop and you cut off. So you train yourself to never be jealous. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, if you find yourself jealous of someone, help that person.
This episode is brought to you by Gold Water.
See, we can't multitask. That's right. It's hard to be jealous and helping them at the same time. You got to do one or the other. You got to hate over there, you got to help over here. But it's a way that you can use tactically to start to reprogram yourself, right? Because you're helping them in that capacity, but you have to help with a good, open heart and a mind, because otherwise, these are the very things that stop you from growing in life. And most people have never learned how to check themselves. You look for the things that you hate the most in yourself inside of other people. The people that you hate the most are often because you have that thing about yourself that you dislike, and they're just a representative of your own secret traits. See, in order to develop this superior mind, you have to be able to exist at a high frequency at all times. But also to understand that your mind goes through cycles, your brain goes through cycles, your body goes through cycles. Sometimes you're going to have low energy. You might have hater energy. You got to stay away from people. Sometimes you got grateful energy. You're in a high energy mood. You ever been around somebody they just hating for no reason? They just in the cycle. And you got to stay away from you. Fellas, you ever been around a woman, she on her period, you didn't know why she was mad and starting to argue. But that was just her cycle. See, men don't know that we got cycles too. Right. Right? You got cycles, you have low economic activity, money ain't moving, right? You got low energy, you start to be jealous of everybody else who's at a higher economic activity. See, as black people, we gotta know this, because these are the things that stop us from growing the most. Nobody outside the community, it's all about everything inside. See, I know everybody heard of what's going on with Ye and Kyrie right now.
There for a reason, and ain't nobody
but
like,
see,
you know.
This is what we have to pay attention to. I always look at success blueprints. Right now, we're getting a master class of how to move as a people. But I'm gonna tell you the issue that we have, right? We all have black pride, right? You got black pride. Oh, don't sound like it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Man, a lot of people started faking it. What I believe that is even as or more important is ethnic pride. See, hold on, no, hold your class. Let me break it down. There's a difference between your race and your ethnicity. That's fine. He's moving. See, our issue is we have an ethnic problem. And they've been practicing an ethnic cleansing on us right in front of us, and they do it in the name of diversity. See, your race, you know, you're from the black race. They consider you to be a Negro from Africa origins, right? So we think we all the same, man. There's just nothing but black people in here. But wait a minute. When you start breaking down people's geographical location, their faith, their beliefs, their language, their religion, right? Their customs, now you find differences. Because we don't all agree on that. So when you see one people who have the same ethnicity, it's easy for them to move as a people because they're not confused. Jews, average Jew, represents as a white person. I think it's somewhere around 60 to 70%. So the race, let's say, is white, but the ethnicity is what? Jewish. See, we have more ethnicities inside our race than any other race. We got different flags. We represent different origins, represent different beliefs, different values, and then we say we need to come together. Why? We don't believe the same thing. We come together and it's a fight. Because we disagree. Kyrie Irving said something key. He said, this is find your tribe season.
It's really about...
I don't want everybody around me. You may be from the hater tribe. There's whole tribes that just hate. They get together, then they gossip, and they hate. They created whole rooms from that. They got shade rooms. They got alerts for it. It's called ball alerts. They got worlds for it. It's called spiritual world. These are just places where they put nothing but gossip, entertainment, and hate. Because that's the tribe they come from. So I ain't mad at them. That's just their programming. So what I try to do is I want to understand what is our common faith, our belief, and our values. Now, this is the trick that they get us with. Y'all ever heard saying that they doing things for diversity and inclusion, right? But then you wonder, you say, wait a minute. It seems that they only include a certain ethnic group of our people. See, they don't want the masculine black men who speak with high-level intellect. That's not what they meant when they said diversity. No, they want the soy boy sucker who don't believe in themselves. That's going to bow down at every chance that they get to show master that they love them. That is the ethnic group. They don't want this black Muslim who believe he a God and talk about do for self. No, that's where they practice ethnic cleansing. So when they see a Kyrie Irving standing up, finding his way to consciousness, they say, wait a minute, that's not the ethnicity that we want represented in the NBA. Why? Because 70%, 80% of them players are black. But when you show your ethnic background, we got an issue. We ain't got an issue with your race. We got an issue with your ethnicity. So now they be like, no, this is for diversity. So we gonna have certain type of, got black women in here, certain type of black men. Not all of you all, just certain types. So you don't see inclusion on the TV screen and media. No, you don't see a strong speaking with a different type of perspective and opinion and a different type of philosophy. You don't see the ethnicities of a Marcus Garvey or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Malcolm X, right, or Marcus Vesey. You don't see the Huey P. Newton type ethnicity on that screen. Not represented in the music, no. Not on the screens, streaming nowhere. Why? Because they understand something. See, those are the type of people who are focused. They know themselves. They have the highest degree to raise the frequency of everybody else around them and get them on par. See, the FBI, they were so smart. They said, we don't care if you are a hate group. We don't care if you're violent. No, we know that we have to stop you from forming any type of unity that represents doing for self. We can't have you, I don't care if it's a prayer group and it got too many black people in it. We know y'all ain't praying to us. See, they always have to be the God in this situation. So it is our job, number one, to find our tribes, to understand what is our ethnicity, who shares our mission, our values, and our vision. It's not enough for you to look black. I don't care about that. You was born with melanin, that ain't cool. I want to know how you think. See, when I listen to a man or a woman, sometimes we don't realize what we wear is a representation of how we think. Our language is a representation of how we think, who we are aligned with, what we say. Our political beliefs are a representation of how we think. So now they blaming, they go on the news and they say that it's black men are the issue right now with voting. They're not talking about all black men. They're talking about 19 keys. And I take that blame, right? Because I grew up in a certain tribe. And that tribe was the do-for-self tribe, right? That tribe was the Mandingos, the Zulu warriors, the Bobo Shanti, the FOI, the Panther tribe, the gods, or Earth. So I understand if they don't like that tribe. Because we were never formed for their love. We were formed for self-love. So, as you all are in Atlanta and you all are from different places, as you go home and you are amongst your family, sometimes your family is not even your tribe. You have to ask them, sit down with them, survey them, investigate them, question them. See if you have alignment, and if you don't, then you have to move with people who are ethnically your family. But see, they do an ethnic cleansing by anybody who's consciousness and seeking a way to think for themselves and do for themselves. You are a problem. See, how dare you talk about lyric reform? How dare you teach people how to eat right? They make fun of you for being conscious, and they trained our own black women to make fun of us. Oh, you hotel. She couldn't tell you what the definition of it was. But we do it based on connotation, not definition. Connotation is what you feel, the feeling, the emotion embedded into that word. But you don't know how to define it, so you don't even know if you represent it. See, they got us controlled by our emotional states. But we have to get to a place where we are intellectual people to where we know how to think. It makes us very hard to be controlled. So now I've seen somebody say, well, don't worry about if we got tangibles now. Just let them in office. Wait a minute. So you only tell a fool that. What you mean, don't worry about that? How is that your pitch to get me to vote? That makes no sense. That is the only thing I'm worried about. Because we've taken that same instruction of, let's just let them in, and then, once we got them in, we can control the house. We've been going through the same cycle and same pattern over and over and over and over and over and over. It's a repeat, wash, rinse cycle. And see, I was talking with my brother Rashad, we say, listen, do what you have to understand. You have to understand the system. See, if you understand the system, he said, brother, don't you know there's enough black congressmen out there that if they all decided to hold their vote, they can get reparations now? I said, damn. So it ain't how many of us that we vote, it's how many of us that are thinking our own code, and that's the same. The power already exists. The question is not just getting new people in. What about the damn existing people that we put in office? What is their responsibility? But see, as a community that just votes with paper, and they don't vote with their dollar, can't say nothing. The brother said, talking to Rashad, he said, the brother said, not one black super PAC has ever come to me about their issues. See, a super PAC is one that put their money where their mouth is. See, the Jewish community, they represent 2% of the population, so therefore, they can never win by voting. Right? See, a corporation also has the right to vote, but it can vote with its dollar since it's not a living, flesh human being, it's a person. So the way that they vote is that they go to these PACs and they lobby, and then they send them to represent their interests in the company. Because as an LLC, you have rights. And they did that because they stole the rights from black people when they was rearranging, so-called trying to give us rights, but in reality, they were strengthening the economic and the capitalistic system. But why is it none of these people that tell us to vote give us a breakdown about lobbying? Why is it there not one black super PAC, but a millionaire and a billionaire can get on TV and tell you to vote? Wait a minute, see, the power of somebody that got money can't be the same power of somebody that poor. You can't tell me that we both got the same strategy. So what we have to do, if you're going to vote, you have to first get the money, put it behind the issue, put the person in there that represents this money and this issue. Now you own them. We don't just want to vote for a politician, we want to buy a politician. See, we know that they are bought and paid for. Go look at who has the greatest super PACs, right? They're not trying to get out there and say, well, listen, we're going to put droves of people. They can't get no 45 million black people like we got. Closest they got, you got blacks and you got browns, Hispanics, right? So we can utilize the numbers and voting power, right? Asians, Jews don't. But yet they got more money than us. Because they realized that our savior was never going to be a vote. It was going to be in our education. It was going to be in our family. It was going to be in doing for self. So these are the things that they put as their priority because they knew that they could not rely on a political system to get them justice. So they said, let's rely on the economic system. We understand the way things work in this world. And so nobody speaks to black people like this whatsoever, but we talk all this politics all day long. But nobody come and talk money. See, they get mad at me when I say this. I say, well, If we put the same amount of energy that we do into the politicians as we do into the thought leaders and the educators and those teaching us, then we will have everything that we needed overnight. So how come that's not on TV? How come the celebrity not using their platform for that? Because they bought and they paid for it. Because ethnically, they not black. Ethnically, they're green. The almighty dollar. So I want you all to think. I can't force you to think anything. I'm just presenting evidences for you to go off. Go ask them, where's the black lobby PACs? How come nobody's putting their dollar in? That means that they don't believe it. We put our dollars in charities. We put our dollar in liquor. We put our dollars in entertainment. We goddamn get in front of our people and we brag about being millionaires and billionaires, but we won't put a dollar towards our salvation. And see, they don't want this type of information to become a normal. They don't want that. So I'm not against voting system. I'm against thinking that the only system towards power is voting. That presenting it in that way that is going to save us is a false reality. But see, if you're distracted all year long, then you're not thinking, you don't know this, you don't care. But see, each and every one of you all have a superpower. See, I always ask, what's the greatest asset? Somebody know this. I knew y'all was gonna say that. I don't believe time is the greatest asset. Your mind is the greatest asset. You can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have a mind to know what to do and how to utilize it, you can't do shit. See, there's different people that got different time. You got fool's time, that's a fool. Smart people, they got smart time, right? Powerful people, they got powerful time. You gotta ask yourself, what type of time am I on? What type of time do I have? Some of you all got lazy time, ain't doing nothing. Some of you all just got sex time. Every day you're just thinking about sex, trying to get towards it. Time is not the most quality asset. If you want to afford anything on this planet Earth, you do it through your mind. The mind is the most valuable thing ever to exist. Every idea that is inside the mind can be brought out into reality. So this is why different people can live longer, because they do more with their time. They live more life. By educating yourself, it has been proven that you can actually live longer. But see, when you become more effective and you're doing things that take a shorter amount of time or go a greater distance, you're actually living longer. This is why it's important to know yourself, to know your rhythms, to know these cycles, to know these patterns, to know these habits. Because some of you all can spend a week on something that may take a person just a minute, because they're more intelligent, they have more influence, they have more power. We just spent the last 100 years trying to figure this thing out. We could have just been studying everybody else who already figured it out. Every other community seems to figure it out. And this is why I say it's all about the mind. The domain of the mind exists beyond space and time. It is very powerful. I'm not talking about your brain. But it's also important when we talk about mental health, we have to understand the correlations between our brain health. Right? So if you want to have the proper mind, you have to have the proper brain. You have to be eating right, thinking right, doing right. But when we're talking about this mental capacity that you have, if everybody in here had the highest quality of thinking, the highest level of frequency, it would be impossible to stop you from getting anything. Because if you are able to concentrate, that is prolonged focus. That means that I can prove that I'm a God. I know some of y'all say that's blasphemy, right? But see, if I can take a thought that's in my mind, something that I picture, and I can bring it to reality, you can't tell me I'm not God. See, this is a different type of proof. I'm not talking about theological proof that's just in a book. I'm talking about proof through action. See, an animal can't be God. An animal can't do that. Animal don't have imagination. See, a man represents his mind. So when a man's mind not right, he not right. But when you can learn to utilize the most valuable asset on this planet Earth, it can be $1 million price tag on something. All you have to do is leverage the most valuable asset that you have, learn how to utilize it, learn how to master it, and you can now receive that thing as well. See, the mind is so powerful, you wouldn't exchange it for nothing in the world. It's not an amount of money that a person say, well, you give me your mind. You got to lose your mind, but I'm going to give you $1 million. You can't do nothing with the money. You done lost your mind. Some people get $1 billion and lose their mind. Now they got to spend, I was talking with the brother in the back, he said, you know, think about freedom is so powerful, and this is why you got to be careful the way you get money. Because you will end up having to spend half of your money to try to get yourself back. See, Kanye West had to spend $500 million to get himself back. That loss, that was him spending it, because he didn't feel free. So you have to be careful the way you go about getting things, because you will end up spending that which you lost your integrity with to try to buy it back. So it's better to do things in an integrable way. So therefore, when you get it, you can enjoy it with your full mind, body, and spirit intact.
This episode is brought to you by Gold Water.
Peace, family. It's power, structure, order, community, intelligence, liberation, freedom. These are words that describe what we're doing and what we're building. See, there's a word of individualism out there. You're fighting to try to satisfy your ego instead of being a part of an eco. And once you become a part of an ecosystem, now you have wisdom around you. Now you have intelligence. Now you have a mastermind of those who know more than you. And once you have access to information, technology, community, and education, now you have all the things that you need in order to build your own foundation, your own nation. You understand me? This is my family, and I want you to join it as well. Make sure you tap into the Block World Order so we can get you together.
I need everybody to stand up. Come on now, this is everybody. This ain't just me talking, we talking. I'm getting energy, I'm getting feedback. I see all of you all in here. I feel the energy in here. I need you to say, I am. I am. See, before anything, it has to be believed. You have to be it before it is. So you can't go to the bank. I told my BWO students this, so they know this. You can't go to the bank and you ain't got $10,000 in there, and you go there and be like, let me get 10,000. Hey, Mr. Jones, I don't know what deposit you thought you made, but it ain't in there. See, some of you are trying to, you're trying to make withdrawals before you make the deposit. You understand me? So whether you want to be a famous rapper, you have to be it before it is. You want to be a great entrepreneur, a great husband, a great mother, right? Whatever it is that you want, it has to already be deposited within yourself. See, I am is one of the greatest words that you can put together because it's a representation of God. See, you're taking the place of God when you say I am, because you're saying that you have the ability to be it and to bring it into reality. So anything that you say after the I am becomes who you are. So in your mind, when you walk around and you have an identity about yourself, you're always recreating, you're always creating your reality, manifested it on a consistent daily basis. Nothing remains consistent unless you're putting in work. That image every single day, you waking up, rebooting yourself, and rewinding yourself of who you are. But then you can change it. You can say, I am power. You can say, I am God. You can say, I am force. You can say, I am successful. You can say, I am wealthy. Anything you want to be, you have to already be it. And then when you want to become more, you have to empty yourself. See, if you are already something, then you can't become something else. Now, this is the key. Hold on, don't even clap. You got to understand this, right? Honorable Ms. Luz Farrakhan said that Allah destroyed the impossible when he made the universe out of nothing. And I want you to think about that. Made the universe out of nothing. So that means that after that, there was not anything that wasn't possible. And everything that is in the substance of the universe, every ingredient exists within you. So that means that everything that you want to create is already within you. It's about how you arrange the things that's in you to bring them out. Say, I am. I am. I am. I high level. Come on, I don't sound like y'all mean it though, man. Come on, man. I'm from the Bay, man. You know, we turned up a little bit though. I am. High level. Man, I appreciate y'all. Y'all can sit down. All right, listen. I'm going to bring up a brother who I believe is extraterrestrial. Man, I had a conversation with this brother. We down there broke the internet. We was talking about aliens, multi-dimensions. We was talking about a multitude of things. And what we proved, that black people are interested in more things than sex, murder, and violence. See, High Level Conversations is a hit show. They be afraid to put that out there because now they have to compare to it. See, they be telling me, man, black people don't want all that conscious shit. Just think about what that means, though. That means that you are purposely giving them things that are unconscious. Because you're saying these people are dead and I just need to make money off their dead bodies and minds. So we said, no, it ain't about whether it's high level. It's the fact that we don't have that within our frequency. We don't see it enough. Ever since we was a kid, we had interest in different things. We like science. We like philosophy. We like art. We like creativity. We just like different stuff. It ain't just gossip and entertainers and bullshit. That's what we fed. So if somebody feeds you something, it becomes your diet, and then you want it more. But then we said, no, let's just show them, right? Let's show them that we're not a monolithic people that's stuck into this rhythm. Let's create a new cycle. Let's create a high-level cycle, right? So the most beautiful thing was now we've proven to the world. We've proven to a world that there's a model to where we don't just like nigga shit, right? We like educational. We like inspirational. We like motivational things. So now we created this hit show of High-Level Conversations, and we changed the world with it, right? Now, you got young black men and women and brown people in all different colors. They want to be able to create high-level content as well. And what I've been teaching people is that the key is to make it with a high-level aesthetic. So you can't make something conscious, but it look bummy. The level, you say the knowledge is high level, but it look like it's low level. Everybody know the conscious, but they be selling the same thing over and over, never package it right, never put the design, the effort, the creativity, and imagination in it to where they can compete with these high-level brands. See, how you gonna talk about Gucci, but they put in more work than you? You can't talk about Louis if they put in more work than you. You understand me? If you got a blog that's about, you know, things that are positive and upliftment, and you talking about shade room, well, you're not putting the same journalistic integrity and workforce behind your ignorance. So, or your good rather, but they're putting that in their ignorance. And that's the reason that we wanted to change things, because it wasn't the fact that we were interested, right? It's the fact that we don't create with a high level creativity and aesthetic and the design and the purpose. When you do that, people love it because they can tell what you're doing that you love. You're backing it, you're behind it. And see, this is why I like the brother Billy Carson. He always in a suit most of the time, right? He be on National Geographic or the Alien Channel. He be in Peru, he be studying things, he be taking trips. And you know, I always talked about, you know, we not the poor righteous teacher, we the rich and righteous teachers. That's a new generation. We conscious with cash, we wealthy and enlightened. Because nobody wants to have all this knowledge, but it means they gotta be poor. There's something wrong with your knowledge. That's backwards thinking. So when I grew up and I seen that, from the leaders that was in the community and the so-called conscious figures, I said something I added right, because you say you're a God, but you got the budget of a bum. So that means that we supposed to be able to take the thoughts out in our head if our mind is working, and we should be able to bring it into reality. Am I correct? So this brother Billy Carson got some money. I was just saying all that to say this. But without further ado, man, I want to bring in this magnificent galactic being, and we're going to get into a hyper-dimensional conversation. And some of the things I want to talk about is how to upgrade your DNA. Can we get into that? I need y'all to stand up and get in your feet for Mr. Billy Carson.
People focus a lot on nutrition, body-wise. You know, I'm gonna feed this particular system of the body, I'm gonna feed that system. Very rarely do people speak about the mind. Very rarely do people speak about the brain. The brain needs the most energy, right? The brain is needed to process. The brain is needed to, you know, compartmentalize. The brain is needed for so many things, you know, but we don't know what brain food looks like, you know? We know that the body's electrical, and what I understand about gold is not only is it superconductive, but it's non-corrosive and it's a noble element. So they say that if I am what I eat, I want to be noble. You know what I'm saying? I want to be of the highest degree, and I also want to focus on mental health. I want to focus on gut health. I want to focus on energy. I want to focus on youth. I want to focus on, you know, accessing pineal activity, hormonal balance. Everything the gold represents is what I want to see more of. So what better thing to do but align myself with this particular product and get it out to as many people as I can by singing the praise of gold, which is something that our people have been doing for over 10,000 years.
Mic check. Okay. Wow, they are here. They are here. I love it.
Taking off my shirt, don't scream.
Oh man.
Mr. Carson.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I appreciate you being here, man.
Hey, it's my pleasure, man.
You know, you my brother from another planet. You understand me? There's rare human beings. There are rare human beings on this planet Earth, right? Some people consider themselves to be rare because they make a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
Right? There's other people who are rare just based on the way that they think, the way that they observe, the way that they intake information, output, input, the way that their neurons are engaged and wired. Sure. There are different types of human beings on this planet Earth. Right? I happen to be one of them. And then there's my brother Billy Carson. You understand me? There's people who talk about aliens, and then there's people who are aliens. That's my brother Billy Carson. You understand me? No, for real, I admire people's minds, right? So when I talk to any man or woman, I'm listening to the way that they think and the way that they process information.
Right.
Because as we talked about it before, the input of the average person is very low.
Yeah.
They don't think for self and they don't know what to think.
Mm-hmm.
You go into a myriad of different subjects that are complex, right? That are, I would consider to be the alternate education than the theses that are indoctrinated to the average human being, right? Not the things that's taught in school, right? And you make things that are seemingly uncool very cool, right? But some of the things that I hear you talking about, and I'm listening to the science of it, man, I said that's key. And I think that if the average person knew these methods and they had this knowledge, then they can start unlocking some of those secrets within self.
Right.
You know, the number 19 keys come from a quote by Master Art Muhammad. He was the one who taught Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad is the one who raised the nation of Islam.
Right.
Elijah Muhammad was one of the first people in the 1930s to even talk about UFOs, spaceships, to give
Facts.
A very accurate and measuremental breakdown on what that was. Mm-hmm. After that, there was a program that was started to start tracking UFOs, right? And the crazy thing about it is nobody ever challenged him on it. Yeah. The government never tried to call him crazy for that. Yeah. But you would think that that would be easy, low-hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. But they understood because they learned from it. Mm-hmm. See, a lot of the things that we think are crazy within our community, they sit back there and learn, absorb, and observe.
Oh, yeah.
They analyze their data, and then they execute based on that. So, but beyond that, you know, getting into this information and understanding, you know, just the different type of people that exist on this planet Earth, but the average person here that is brown, right, that seemingly may have a background that is somewhere within slavery. Right? If you are American descendant of slaves, then you know that slavery, chattel slavery specifically, is in your bloodline.
Yeah.
There's also things in your bloodline like being a warrior, right? Being a king, being a chief, being a scientist.
Yeah.
We all want to be related to the people in ancient Kemet, but everybody wasn't building pyramids.
Right.
Right? Even if they were just workers.
Right.
Right? But I want to talk about epigenetics a little bit. And how do we as a people, because there's a lot of distrust, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of jealousy, there's a lot of envy, there's a lot of these different things. There's, for equal of every one of those things, there's creativity, there's imagination, there's invention, there's innovation at the same time. But how do we get to a place where we can start upgrading our DNA so we can start rewriting the sequences of how we think?
Yeah. Man, this is a great topic, first of all, because this is what we need. You know what I'm saying? I don't like wasting time. When I speak words, when I put information out, I want it to serve a purpose. And this conversation is serving a purpose.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And so when we're talking about DNA, first of all, let's understand a little bit about the DNA. DNA is a storage medium, meaning it stores information in volumes, okay? And a scientist named George Church actually took a digital ebook and encoded the digital zeros and ones into CTAGs, which are the DNA reading format, and then he downloaded that book onto DNA. Then he said, this is interesting. DNA can store digital data. Then he took the book from the DNA and he uploaded it back, put it in a little device, converted the CTAs and Gs back into zeros and ones, put it back on the server. He said, oh, this thing has upload and download. It can send and receive information. And then he said, let me replicate my book. Let me see how much I can fit on 1 gram of DNA. He replicated the book 70 billion times. A full book with images and photos and data and words and paragraphs. He replicated it 70 billion times and put it, 1 gram is a drop, one little tiny drop in DNA. And he said, wow, now they're sending and receiving information from DNA via wireless information, Wi-Fi. So now they know they can transmit data, convert it, and drop it on DNA. So what they found during these studies and the most recent studies with DNA now is that a human body stores about 13.5 billion years of data. How old is the universe? Well, astrophysicists estimate the universe is about 13.5 billion years old. So we're talking about in each one of our bodies, our atoms are storing information since the beginning of time. And if you could put it all together like a puzzle, you can read everywhere every atom in your body has ever been, and you can create a story from the beginning of time until this very current day.
Talk to him then. Talk heavy then. Talk heavy then, Billy.
So,
I want to say something on that. Because, like, I want all of you all to just, feel your body right now, right? Like, from your blood, the DNA that exists within it, right? Everybody has, like you said, downloaded files. Some of those files can make you more prone to addiction.
Right.
Some of those files can make you a better fighter. Some will make you a better thinker, right? Everybody here has something within their body that they may want to overwrite, right? They may not like the way that the information is encoded within them, right? So if a person wanted to start from saying that, okay, well, I don't like the fact that I'm a hater. I want to be more like Billy and Keys.
Exactly.
How can they go about rewriting the hater DNA?
Well, that's a good question. So now let's take it to the next step. They found out that in your RNA, which is part of your genetic makeup in the DNA, it actually transmits, now they found 15 to 20 generations of past ancestry lives, memories, actual memories are in your body. So 15 to 20 years of your ancestors. So for me, if I have an ancestry of slaves, all the whoopings, the beatings, all the buck fighting,
yeah,
all the teaching of infighting, or I got to be better than this guy because I want, or this guy works in the house and he's with the house and I'm outside in the field and now I hate him, and all that kind of stuff. All those traumas. There's a lot more trauma passed down, they found, through the RNA into the next generation than non-trauma. So trauma triggers something that then can pass down the bloodline to other people. So we have in us situations that make you feel like you may want to feel like you're depressed. You want to feel suicidal. And you're like, why am I feeling like this? I got a great life. You might be completely envious and jealous all the time and can't figure out a way to break out of that. Okay, you might be a person that could be having an addictive personality and you can't figure out why that's happening. Okay, and a lot of this stems from epigenetics. The study was done over 20 years ago on epigenetics, and the scientists and the doctors that were working on it were laughed at, they were scoffed. They were like, this is bull, this is baloney. And now all of a sudden, bring it to the current era, it's being taught in universities now.
Right.
And this is real peer-reviewed science. They can trace and track it back. And what they found was something very interesting. If a person wants to begin to heal themselves, because this is, again, part of what you were talking about earlier, saving yourself, becoming your own savior. You are your own savior. You need to talk to yourself. That's how it's done.
Come on, talk to them.
So you're talking to yourself. So, for example, they found out that by saying positive affirmations pertaining to what you're trying to reverse in your life 3 times a day for 21 days begins the process of rewriting the DNA. That's the beginning process. This scientific experiment has been replicated now dozens of times all around the world, and they know that now we have the power within our own selves through cymatic frequencies, which are the sounds that come out of your vocal cords. When you speak, you're not really, you think that you're speaking a language. You say, oh, I said this and I said that. What's really happening is you're undulating vibrational waves, and on those vibrational waves there are frequencies. Those frequencies travel across atmosphere or gases and then are picked up by the cochlea in your ear or somebody else's ear, and then the brain deciphers the information. But those frequencies that we utter out of our vocal cord have power over the ether of space-time itself. This is what they don't want you to know. When you speak, you actually are creating an alternate reality. And you can do that to yourself.
No, that's key. I was listening to a neuroscientist that was explaining, what happens even when we're reading, right? When we're reading, our vocal cords are still active. So we're still having that vibrational frequency, right? So even when you're thinking negative thoughts, you're putting out vibrational frequencies, I believe. Now, so that means that at all times throughout reality, because everybody has a particular sphere, a particular aura about themselves, right? If you ever looked at Curlian photography, then you know that we are electrical beings, and it is beyond the human eye spectrum, but that exists, right? Now, some people have higher orbs than others. But the key to that is the same way when you walk into a room and you can change the atmosphere, is because you actually bring atmospheric conditions with you.
Right.
And so, one of the key things that I do everywhere I go is I make sure that I set the atmosphere. I'm not changed by it, right? The same way a planet has moons and it has things that orbit it, you have that same energy around you, right? And it is always orbiting and is always within a force. So for me, I know for some rooms I have to increase that force.
Right.
And it happens a lot with self-talk, right? You walk in a room before I go, I'm a god, right? I can do whatever I want. That increases that light force. So now when I walk in that room, I'm projecting a frequency. It's a nonverbal language, but people feel that about me, right? So now I'm communicating with their energy as I walk in the room. Because 80% of communication is nonverbal. It's not what you say. It is mostly about what you feel.
Exactly.
Right? So when we meet people, we just get a feeling about them we don't like.
Right.
Or we get a feeling about them that we do. Because they are communicating through their DNA, they're communicating through their cells. Everybody vibrates at a certain frequency and a certain pace. The people that we're at that same vibration, they gel with us. That's easy. But they got a different vibration, whether it's lower or whether it's higher, they can bring yours down to that medium.
Correct.
So either you have to have the power to be in rooms that are of higher vibrational magnitude, or you have to have the ability to amplify
the room's vibration so that it doesn't bring yours down.
Exactly. That's powerful stuff. Now, let me back him up. I went to MIT. I took a class on applied neuroscience. My professor was Dr. Tara Swart. Now, in that class, we learned that when you are sitting next to someone within 8 to 15 feet max, some people's field can go out as much as 20 feet.
19.
There you go, 19. I like it. So right now, I'm sitting next to Keys. Our fields are interacting right now. Now, what's interesting is my bioelectric field and his bioelectric field are combining. My hormones that are in my body, which are right now on a high frequency, are connecting with his, and I'm downloading his into my actual avatar, and he's downloading my energy and my frequency from my hormones into his avatar. Now imagine you're in a room full of people that's stressed out, worried, panicking. They just got done watching all the stuff on TV about they about to shut the planet down again and all this kind of crazy stuff, right? And so their cortisol is spiking.
Yeah.
People who watch the news all day long, they're living in a soup of cortisol nonstop. Yeah. They're addicted to the cortisol spike. Now, when you get next to them, if you're not powerful enough, if you're not speaking to yourself, speaking power on your life, they're going to enter into your body, and that cortisol is going to drain you. It's going to make you now raise your cortisol, and now you feel worse than they do.
That's a fact. No, that's powerful because everything that we're talking about is light communication.
Yeah.
Right? Same way if you go out in the morning at certain daylight hours, early when you wake up, it starts to train your circadian rhythm.
Right.
Right? So you got the super chiasmatic nucleus. I know some good words too. I'm talking about. So light enters and it's training your body and then letting it know what time of the day is, what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, most of us don't realize that we're existing on artificial time, right? Because we're operating on calendar systems, and we talked about this before. Right. But we didn't really go super in depth with it. Now, the reason I find this to be important because I've been deep on rhythms and cycles right now, right, and vibrations. And so being able to understand the fact that when your light that is literally communicating to me, we have ultraviolet light that is on the other side of the spectrum in which the eye can see, but everything vibrates a particular light, right? So when you go into a crowd like this, and the reason that people like the sage, matter of fact, I got some sage in the back if you can get me some. The reason that people like the sage is because when you have high intense energy in the room, it fills up with these ions, right? These ions are now charged up the room negatively, right? So you have to clear out that energy with that smoke, right? So they was mad at Kyrie Irving for bringing smoke on the field, but he was clearing out that energy. If you in a household and you fighting with your spouse and you putting that sage in, but then that's why people like open up the doors, let it out.
Right.
So this is not something that's fake. This is something that's been scientifically proven, right? So people don't just do these things to look fun or things of that nature. It's actually a science based on making your temple, right? We have inner temples, we have outer temples. If you have a woman, I always talked about this. Women should have them plants. They should have that sage. They should have them crystals. You understand me? They should know how to create a home in a temple, right? Same thing with fellas as well, but specifically because the women provide that nurturing energy, it means that she's in tune with that feminine self. Because that outer representation is an inner representation. So as we going in different places, the ability to change the environment is key. Being that we're water, we can become negatively programmed with that field. So if you're around somebody, like you said, we're combining energy. You can walk away with my negative energy.
Correct.
You understand me? And a person like, damn, why are you acting like that? Because you're just around somebody who's acting like that.
That's right.
So you start to take on the rhythm of the vibration. This is what happens with binaural beats as well. Binaural beats, if you are in a heightened state, right? And if you listen to something that's considered to be like theta waves, it said that your body will start to imitate the frequency, will start bringing you down into a lower, relaxed state of thinking. Right? So being able to understand frequency and vibration and light is at the key fundamental elements of understanding reality.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head, man. Your body is resonating. Everything is resonating at a specific frequency. The reason why I can sit in this chair is not because my body is solid and the chair is solid and I'm stopping myself from falling through the chair. The reason why I can sit in this chair is because this chair, the atoms in this chair are resonating at a specific subatomic frequency, And the atoms in my body and even in my clothes are also resonating at a different subatomic frequency. And so what we're looking at is repulsion. You never actually touch anything, you repel it.
That's a fact.
Everything is repelled. You don't actually touch anything. Matter of fact, atoms are 99.999% empty space. And so the only thing stopping my hand from moving through this chair without touching anything and passing it right through is that repulsion. But if I can phase shift the atomic frequency of my hand to match the subatomic frequency of the atoms in this chair, I would pass my hand straight through it. Like I said in my video one time, there's 8 billion people on Earth. And because we're all mostly empty space, if I were to take all the empty space out of every human avatar body, I can fit all 8 billion people into one sugar cube. We're not even here.
So more into the brain training, right?
Yeah.
So with the CIA tapes that they released at the Gateway tapes, right, where they was doing all of these testing on the human brain and mind. And, you know, with the hemisync, it was basically taking two different frequencies, one in the left, one in the right. And instead of like hypnosis, where it's putting one side essentially to sleep so that it can train in that other side, because we know that the left brain, that's logic, that's reasoning, right? That's calculation, it's pattern recognition. Where the right is to see house of creativity and imagination and a multitude of different things. But the left brain essentially tells the right brain what to do, right? So when it gives its suggestion, it basically has no barriers to fight it. It just receives it. So meaning that you can program logical things into your imagination with full acceptance. So that left brain becomes that barrier for you to just take in any information. But now when you're listening to music, what's happening? You're bobbing your head, right? You are in a state of agreeance, right? You are relaxed. That left brain is falling asleep. And now that right brain is there to just receive suggestion, right? Now, I wanted to talk about the hemisync because, you know, I've been training my own brain and I've been listening to these binaural beats. And I believe that everybody should do this, right? You find yourself in a heightened sense of, you know, anxiety or stress or depression. Listen to nothing but binaural beats and allow yourself to be in a state of relaxation, right? Now, that theta wave is the second to being the deepest part of sleep. Because even when we sleep, we go through different cycles, right? From heightened, right, to a very lower unconscious state of sleep where we're on the deepest and where we just resting. And even if somebody was making noise, you wouldn't be able to hear them. So then we have the states where we go towards closer to lucid dreaming. And lucid dreaming normally happens when you're actually about to wake, not in your deeper parts of sleep, because you're closer to consciousness, right, awakened state. So as we exist in this reality, we're always dreaming. We either have dreams where we have them by ourselves, or we have dreams where we have collective dreams with everybody else, right? The thing about the collective dream is that we are all our own nomads and our frequencies are fighting everybody else's frequencies. So you don't have the ability to explicitly just to control reality the same way you can in your self-dreaming state. Now, your mind is fighting against my mind, right? For control over reality and what's real and what's not real. Reality essentially is just a collection of ideas that we believe or we don't believe. And perception is skewed based on what we believe. So, but I wanted to know some of your take on the hemisync files, right, that the CIA was doing, because they basically was telling the world after they released them in the 90s, right, that, you know, consciousness is real and that having psychic intuitive abilities is real and they can be honed and trained.
Yeah, they have these files that have released this information. This is really powerful stuff because what they discovered, a couple things. The first thing they discovered is everyone has extrasensory capabilities. Extrasensory powers, telekinesis, psychic ability, you know, the ability to actually move things with your mind. All that stuff is actually a normal part of the human avatar body. The junk DNA, the disconnected DNA, is not really junk. That's part of the thing that has held us back from tapping into some of those original talents and skills and those sensory perceptions that we already had. They also discovered something where they actually, through the same testing of this, before they came up with this document, was they took two people. They took one person and put them in one room, put another person in another room. The person in one room was blindfolded. The other person was looking at a game screen, a video game screen. It was a very simple game like Pong or something. Now, they were able to sync the minds between the two people, and the person that was just looking at the screen was able to think of the movements that they needed to make. The other person was blindfolded and had the controller and was remote control of the other person's hand. So we know the power of, understood the power of mind linking, mind suggestion, the capability that minds are outside of space and time, but minds can also sync together to help create a specific type of reality. This is powerful stuff.
Right.
They also understood that they can also lure you into through frequencies through the media. They can transmit subliminal frequencies, and at the same time they're doing that, they can make suggestions to the other side of your brain. And now your brain is taking it all in, and now they've just programmed you. That's why I call it programming.
Right.
And now they got robots, us, walking around, and they have these keywords and these triggers that they use in different marketing things and in different signs and in different buildings and movies. And they do experiments on us to trigger us to see what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, if the programming took, and which group of people the programming took to the best and didn't. So this is pretty crazy stuff.
Now, speaking of that, right, I was watching a study. You know, one of them is that there's this wild theory on the internet that the internet is dead, right? And then there's another that shows that how, you know, if you go look at most of the text on these companies, they have become simplified, right, over time and over time. And part of the reason this typography has become simplified is because the computers are making it, right? That whether we realize it or not, that most of our reality is now computer generated, right? So the creativity and the imagination and the color is becoming less and less because the computer looks at things from a quantitative data standpoint, where it looks at, you know, what's the most efficient and effective way to make it.
Right.
So the computer doesn't have emotion, so it doesn't create with a range of creativity. Where if you look at some of the old logos, some of the old designs of doors, some of the old designs of things, we created things in an extravagant manner, right? Now things are being created in a very square, cubicle, computer design reality. So even if you go outside and you look around, sometimes you only see black and white cars, right? You don't realize that the world is now being generated by computers and we're actually living in a computer domain. So when computers started to speed up and make decisions for man, man is no longer in control of his reality, right? And now they're trying to get it to a point where artificial intelligence can have complete control of reality, to where you don't have to make decisions. One of the things that I've been showing and teaching people was about how to use text to image. They have text to speech, right? Where you no longer have to be the creator. You no longer have to be the generator. No longer have to be the designer. Now you're just partnering with the AI, telling it what to do, and it's creating a reality for you. But at the same time, this theory has always been there where people say that we live inside of a matrix, right? Where it's completely computer generated. And there's always some people, they don't care about that. They just, as long as they're living a good life inside the computer, they happy, right? We have a symbiotic relationship with our computers. Now, when I say computers, I'm talking about what y'all call iPhones. But iPhones are nothing but mini computers that was branded as phones because it's easier to sell a phone, right? You selling the average mom and pop a computer, they may say, I don't need one, but everybody needs a phone. And so when human beings started to get computers, it sped up everybody's processing capability and speeds, right? Now reality is at that point where most people don't understand it. We all have access to all this information and all these different domains that we get for free because it costs us nothing to learn anymore, but we no longer know how to think. Right? So now we are the most informed society on the planet Earth with the least ability to actually think for ourselves.
That's so true.
Right? So we have to get to a point where we question reality. Questioning is probably the most powerful tool that any human being can have. Right? See, any domain that wants complete control in any institution does not want a questioning mind around. The questioning mind is the child's mind. The child's mind is not being properly programmed into indoctrination or where you're told things and you accept it without question. That's indoctrination or little force. So the child is, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to go to church? Why do I have to wear this? Why do I have to act like this? The adult then becomes programmed to tell the child the reason why. Right? But God is always in the why. Right? Because God is one's understanding and logic and reasoning because God built everything, which we want to get into with the golden ratio. Built everything based on sacred geometry. Right? So he didn't just make things by accident. There's not just a plant or an herb out there for accident. Every single thing in reality has a purpose and has a reason. Even when we look at some of the most beautiful designs on the planet Earth that are the most famous ones, they're designed with golden ratios. They're designed with sacred geometry
because they were able to understand that the human beings have certain connections to this mathematics.
Right.
The highest level of reasoning in reality is understanding that all this mathematics, right? But I want to get into sacred geometry and get your understanding of the golden ratio.
Yeah, definitely. The golden ratio is a beautiful thing. It's actually part, well, you now we're looking into, if you look at the pantheon, you know, if you go to Greece and Rome and you look at the construction of these buildings with the ancient pantheon, these monuments that men built to the gods, you'll see that they're built with the golden ratio, which is this particular type of a rectangle with certain specific dimensions. And inside of those dimensions, you can create the Fibonacci sequence, which is this swirl. Now, what they found was that why are these structures so beautiful, and why are some of the greatest artists in the world painting so beautiful? It's because they were able to find the golden ratio and the Fibonacci and pi and phi inside the paintings. So these people had a wisdom and knowledge of the sacred geometry, which is really the essence of all creation back then. And so now they're looking at it and started analyzing the human body and began to realize, like, the distance between the top of your nose and the bottom of your lip, and between the two eyes and between your ears, and the distance from your elbow to the wrist, it all also exhibits aspects of the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence. And so in America, in the court legal system, if you have enough circumstantial evidence, somebody can go to jail, right? You say, well, this is the person that did it, and you can get locked up if there's enough circumstance. So there's enough circumstantial evidence, somebody has left behind a signature on creation. All right? There's a book that I have called the Sefer Raya. It's a very small text, a very ancient text. In this text, it's only been translated into 3 languages, but it goes all the way back to Aramaic as well. And it has in there a special coding system written into the text. And a researcher and author named Greg Brady, some of you may have known him, he was able to, with a group of scientists, decipher the code and match those numbers that were associated with letters to the atomic structures on all the different elements that make up the human body. And what they found was the same thing as the golden ratio, which is like a signature. They also found etched into every strand of DNA, Yahweh, which is the name of God, etched into every single strand of DNA in the human body, which is pretty interesting. And so again, we're seeing the signature. It's like, this is my mathematical construct. These are how I build things with my subatomic Legos. And that's going to be the Fibonacci and the golden ratio and pi and phi. And then now when I'm done, I'm going to sign my creation. And so that spelling of Yahweh was removed from the Torah 6,800 times because they said no one should be able to see it or speak it. And it still has never been added back to the Torah. Yeah.
Now, we know why, because, you know, you're always trying to hide the signature of God.
Exactly.
You know, you know, even in the Quran, there's a code within the Quran called the 19 code, right? And so the man who found this code, he was actually assassinated, right? There was a lot of people who did not like him for this. Right now, this 19 code was basically finding mathematical properties within the Holy Quran, surahs, verses that always added up to the number 19. And there's a verse in it that says, over it are 19, right? The 19th surah in the Quran is Maryam, the woman, right? The 19th chapter, 19th verse is the only chapter speaking on the birth of Christ. So within that, the birth of Christ is more so about crystallizing consciousness, right? And having that Christ consciousness. Now, that Christ consciousness is, in this Mother Tanetta. Mother Tanetta was one who I've studied later on. She was one of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's wives. But what she did is she went to Mexico. She said the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told her to go to Mexico and find the next knowledge, essentially, right? So she would study all multitude of different things, the crystals, the different prophecies that existed on that side, right? And artificial time sequences, right? In the 19 code. But one thing that she said she did, she said she would read the Quran week to week, every single day, page by page. And what it allowed her to do was tap into the frequency of God, because it had crystallized her thoughts. Well, only thing that she could think was based on the thinking of the Quran, right? And I think about that because if you're trying to program yourself to a certain frequency, and that's why I always say what you do frequently becomes your frequency, right? that she was able to crystallize in this Christ consciousness, and it always existed at this higher level. So when you spoke to her, she always spoke in a very powerful tone, as a matter-of-fact tone, as a thinking like a God tone. And she said that the ultimate principles was getting to the mind of God, right? And this is why I always tell people that distraction is the most dangerous thing on the planet Earth, right? Because your job is to get focus, right? The most dangerous man on the planet Earth is a focused man.
Absolutely.
A man tell you he go do something, but he's distracted, you ain't worried about him.
Yeah, he ain't worried about him.
Man always moving from point A to he ain't really mean that. But if you know man tells you to do something, and you know he's the type of person that says be and it is, right? The moment he get a thought, there's another point in time where that thought is a reality, because he's just going to focus until he brings it into reality. That's a dangerous man.
Absolutely.
So if he has a dangerous plan and he says something, you get worried that moment. But see, you know, Negroes be talking about shit they go do all the time. They don't never do nothing. You understand me? But when we're talking about mathematics, there's also certain personality types that are mathematical. INTJ types, ENTJ types. These are the mathematical types that have to be alone, right? Because that's when you can actually hear God by yourself, right? So I'm one of those personality types. In order for me to have original thoughts, I don't need to be in social environments. I need to hear myself.
Same with me.
Right? That's when God is talking to me and I'm on an original rhythm, not on social rhythms. Right? So people that are on social media, they're on the social rhythm of the world. Right? So when you get by yourself, spend 30 minutes by yourself. Right? Especially if you're a mathematical type, because you're more introverted. Right? Mathematical or introverts are just people who prefer to spend time alone. Right? And extroverted are people who spend time with other people. They want to be in social environments. But I challenge everybody here is to literally see if you can spend 30 minutes to an hour a day by yourself, doing nothing, sitting still. Whether it's a transcendental, meditative state, or you're just by yourself to hear you. But I know for a fact most people don't want to hear their inner thoughts. They're afraid of that, right? So you get into social rhythm so you don't have to hear yourself. So you hear everybody else but what you thinking, so you never deal with that inner voice of God. So if you ignore God on a daily basis, and you're mad that nothing is happening in your blessing, nothing is happening in your favor, especially when God gives you an idea and you don't act off of it like it's time sensitive, you're literally ignoring God for the devil of distractions.
I agree. One thing that I learned in my whole journey to my knowledge of ascension, which is still ongoing, it's a never-ending process, learning every single day, is that when I was younger, that voice that I used to hear was coming from out there somewhere. And it was something that I had imagined in my mind was this being flying around and, you know, had a magic wand and all this stuff. It was granting wishes to people. That was my own dream. That was my own perception. And as I grew up and as I started to gain knowledge more and more and more and began to realize certain things about life and reality and dimensions and creation, that voice in my head, that God voice, it started morphing. I started realizing when I would do my meditation walks and I would go for these big walks, the voice turned into my own voice. And I realized that God was actually me talking to myself from a higher dimension.
Talk to him.
And so when I heard the voice, I began to say, wow, it's really me, because we know that we are receiving a signal. There's only one consciousness, and all of us are receiving that same one consciousness, but on a slightly different frequency. I'm 99.1, he's 99.2, you're 99.3, so forth and so on. But the radio station is sending out the signal from a higher location. And my avatar body has been designed to encapsulate 99.1. And so I'm getting the information, and it morphs, and now it's my own voice. And it doesn't mean I have a God complex. It means I understand that I am a version, a fractal of God walking in the flesh. That's what it means.
Come on. Now, we talked about it before, right? We talked about these melanin spacesuits that we got, right? Which allow us to go through atmospheric conditions at a better rate than everybody else, right? But specifically with melanin, melanin is a very powerful thing, right?
because we can absorb more radiation than any other beings on the planet Earth. The darker you are, the more radiation you can absorb, right? So you have to understand, even when you're looking at your brown skin, you're looking at frequency or radiation trapped within that. This is literally light trapped within your body, right? This is why you go outside, you go in the light, and it gets darker. So that means that we also happen to exist at a heightened state of frequency because we have more energy, we have more radiation, which means that we become a very emotional people, but at the same time, we can utilize that emotion, alchemize it, and bring things out within us. So the goal is, if you take the most powerful people on the planet Earth and you program them, you use their womb, their mind, and their bodies, right, to program your ideas, now you have the most powerful vessel on the planet Earth bringing that into reality. So when we look at America, America understood this secret, right? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said in 1995 when he was at the Million Man March and he stood on those steps at the Jefferson Memorial and he was giving a breakdown of the secret of the number 19, and he was explaining like this is the 13th president representation and 16th president representation, and he was talking about the monuments that were 19 feet high. But he was explaining that because he was saying that 1 and that 9, you know, when they come together represents a secret to be uncovered or unfolded, right? And so that's that masculine and that feminine, and together they represent God. Now, the secret of America was always learning how to capture and control God and utilize him. So when you look at America, America's business is the capturing, controlling, and the management and capitalization of God, which is you and I. How do we know this? So if you go look at every system in America that's built, the NBA is what? Majority black men, right? The music business, majority black men. Right? Now they're utilizing black women in political places and things of that nature. Look at the entertainment business. All of this spirit and energy has never been controlled by us. But we have literally invented more than any other people on the planet Earth. But nobody speaks about black people in that capacity. Right? Nobody says that there's something special about those people, that they have the ability to invent more than anybody. How does that, why is there no scientific study to understand why? See, they don't want you to have these thoughts in your head because you start to exalt yourself beyond the foolishness.
They don't want you to know that you're a master manifester.
Yeah. If you see yourself beyond slavery, slavery just 400 years, that's a speck in time, right? That's a speck in time. So they never went over there and captured slaves. They captured inventors, right? Inventors were sold. Right? Warriors were sold. Engineers were sold. Scientists were sold. Right? Farmers were sold. Agriculturists. So when you look at our ancestors, it's disrespectful to even call them slaves. Right? These were great people.
I agree 1,000%.
But see, now, the confidence that comes along with that is the key piece that I want to get to. But see, if you walk around, I come from a slave, no confidence. All you're thinking about is getting over that epigenetic trauma that exists within yourself. But now if you go back to Hannibal Barker, and he's a father of military genius, you're going back to Imhotep, right? You're going back to the Dogon people, right? You're going back deep into your history. Now you're operating from that place of confidence. Right? So they want you to feel detached, right, from your beginnings. Right? So now you start yourself off as a slave, you have to build yourself up. But if you start with a God, then you have to maintain yourself up.
Exactly. That's so true.
But can you give, oh no, go ahead, I want to hear your thoughts.
I was going to say, what you're saying is basically exactly the way my mind works. The best way to separate a race of people from who they truly are and the power that's inside of them is to erase and detach them from their past. People always come to me, man, why you spend so much time on tablets? You always talk about ancient this and ancient that. You want to go to ancient site. Why? We got problems right now today. Well, guess what? We ain't going to fix none of these damn problems today unless we know what the hell went on back then.
Come on, man. Come on.
I'm telling you, the past is prologue. Until you go into the past, and I try to get to the closest. Now, we know that in everything that's ever written or everything that's ever spoken about by a human being has some falsehood in it. Okay, we know this. This is a fact. This is a scientific fact. However, the closer you get to the oldest of texts and the oldest of information and speak to the oldest group of people, the more you get closer to the truth. You can never get 100% to the fact.
Yeah.
But you can get as close as possible. So when I look at a 36,000-year-old tablet and get the deciphering of that tablet and get the information out of it, I'm getting as close as I possibly can to the original version of the story. And that's what's important, because that has allowed me to grow consciously, for allowing me to know the true power in me, to allow me to know how powerful I am, to allow me to know even how high I can even ascend to, beyond even, according to these tablets and texts, the beings that tried to encapsulate my avatar body and my spirit in this body. I can ascend even past them.
Right.
You don't know that until you go into the past.
You said something key as well, right? The past is a very powerful place. Like, we can't physically time travel, but we can mentally time travel.
Right.
Right? And in that mental time traveling, we can literally go back into our thoughts, right? And we can change the perception on events. And we can change the reality of those events, changing the feeling that we have attached to them. And this is how we start to erase trauma. There are some of the things that you're thinking about right now. You may hate an ex. Anybody ever hated an ex? I know none of y'all have. You know what I'm saying? But let's be honest, the average person feels like they're supposed to. That's a societal norm. Right. It's to dislike and hate your ex. Even though both of y'all was in the same place, y'all both attracted to each other at the same time, which simply means y'all was on that same frequency. Now, the reality of it is, if you go back and you study that relationship, and you understand the perception of where they was and where you was, and you pull out the lessons from it, you can no longer hate them because you understand them.
Facts. Facts.
So then, you're literally time traveling, right? You're going back in time, and this is what I've learned to do within my mind, right? That anytime I go through a sequence of events that I may consider negative or positive, I go back to make sure I have the highest level of perception on it. So that allows me to go in those childhood experiences that I have and make sure that I rearrange the perception on it. I talked about in the last time, understanding how to forgive yourself, which is a key so I don't hold on to things that I don't need. But now I learned to go back and forgive myself, not just the person that was in it, for every situation that I've been through. Right? And this is a mental training discipline that you can do, because most people have mother and daddy problems, right? They have issues growing up in a household. So I want to make sure that we have these little brain tools that we can utilize, because nobody ever gave us a mind manual.
Right.
Nobody said that, this is, you go look at chapter 19 and this is the way that the brain works. Right? So most people are not ascended masters of themselves.
Right.
So everybody here in our differentiated stages, some people are at the stages where they're just in initiation. The problem with the world today is we're stuck in an initiation phase. Everybody's getting beginner knowledge, right? And nobody wants to go to higher heights. And when they do that, they say you're going too deep. Right? Oh, no, you're losing the people. Right? These people are stupid. They don't want to hear all that high level.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
But we know people like high level conversations.
Yes, we do.
Right?
And I really want people to pay attention to this. Like, watch with your kings, your queens. Give us the 5 stars. My show producer told me to do this, but it's serious. We got to do #1 globally, right? Raise the consciousness all across the planet Earth. All right, back to us. We can keep it real. I want them comment. I want them 5 stars. You feel me? I want to get to the top of this
comment,
thing.
Like, and subscribe, family. Each one teach one. Each one reach one. Get ahead and run them numbers up.
First way to prepare your baby mama and baby daddy relationship.
Come on, let's go.
Subscribe to that high level conversation.
Subscribe, comment.
You know you're doing some work.
And share. We want you to do all the action steps, right? Yeah, well, it's important. No, it's important to give them the commandment, right? Because we are passing the high level conversation to you. And if you join us in a high level conversation and you're excited about it, now you go take this high level conversation to your homes, your households, your sisters, your brothers, everybody that needs it. And then give them the assignment, let them get this high level conversation and pass it on. And we just keep making this the new norm of us having high level conversations. So to Brother Key's point, let's do that. Ashe.
All right.
Can you explain to us either your path or just a general path of starting off from, the initiation stage, especially when it comes to occult wisdom and knowledge, and then going to becoming an ascended master?
It's a long journey, and for me, it was a long, lonely journey. because, and it will be lonely at some point for everyone in the beginning stages. For me, I was fortunate and kind of unfortunate in some weird ways to be able to start reading at a very early age. And so it allowed me to start reading, and my parents would give me the Bible. Even though they weren't very religious people,
right,
they gave me the Bible. I would have to do book reports on the Bible. At 2 years old, I'm doing book reports. That's why I dedicated my last book to my dad, my financial book. He made me do book reports on everything you could think of since I was a little tiny kid. And because of him, I really got to give, everything he did that was wrong, that he got right. And the only thing was, going through all these texts, I started getting confused because I'm seeing a lot of inconsistencies here and inconsistencies there. I'm looking outside my window, I'm in the ghetto, like we're underneath the gutter, and then I'm reading this text where things are supposed to be, things ain't adding up. And so I started asking myself questions. I said, well, what if this and what if that? And then I would start looking up information. So I became a researcher at a very young age. And that led me on a journey of the beginning of my awakening, right? And so I started finding things that didn't correlate with one another and then writing down what didn't match or what didn't make sense to me, and then seeking out how can I find better answers. I tried to talk to a couple of friends. I'm only in elementary school at this time, by the way. This is like 1978, 1979.
Yeah.
And my friends are like, what are you talking about? So I realized this is something I have to go on my own. I tried to talk to my siblings, but even my brother, who was only 1 year younger than me, he wasn't at the level yet. I even saw them. I was the oldest, and I even saw him, as a baby. So all my siblings, I took care of them. I raised them. I cooked for them. I did everything I had to do. And so it was a long, lonely journey. But as I continued to work and study and research, I didn't give up just because it was lonely. Having all this stuff coming into my brain and not being able to really expound on it with anyone. But I saw it go from me, when I got really inspired, from hiding and talking to one guy that I knew in the bushes behind his house, until where we were exchanging VHS tapes of more information.
He was behind the bushes?
Yeah, there was some. Well, I grew up in Miami, so back then there was a lot of
Moses for a second.
A lot of empty. No, not a burning bush. There was a lot of empty lots. I guess I was the burn in the bush because I was the one dropping the knowledge. Like Moses received on Sinai. But I was there, and eventually we started exchanging VHS tapes with information on it, and a few people more got involved.
Some people don't know what VHS tapes are.
I know. They stopped making VHS tapes because the electromagnetic field of the Earth was erasing the tape footage, and they had to move to a different medium, of which became DVDs and CDs. But we moved from that to cassette to CDs to DVDs, and I seen this progress, this track going up over time as more people and more people and more people started vibing with me. This is long before Forbidden Knowledge was even on social media, wasn't even close to existing yet. But I had now created these groups of people that I was schooling and interacting with them. So it was this gradual upswing. Now, then it went to blogs and websites. Now it's web forums. Now I'm on mainstream TV and high-level conversations. So it's a path.
The highest level.
The highest level. So at one point, you're going to feel like you want to get out because family members don't believe it. Family members are pissed off. You're the black sheep of the family. Don't give up. Stay on your path. Stay working on yourself. Keep researching. Keep digging. Keep studying. Keep meditating. Because I'm telling you, in the end, you're going to become a better person. And what you're going to do is you're going to begin to see people who aren't vibing on the same frequency. You're not going to see them as adversaries anymore. You're going to see them as understanding that these people may have just arrived in this dimension. A person can be 60 years old and be a brand newborn baby in this realm, and a person can be 15 years old and be ancient. This is an understanding you have to come to.
No, I believe that 100%, right? People always tell me I got an old spirit. Of course, that's not the way I think, right? I've never experienced old age. Not in the way that the common people think about it. My old ages are the ages that I'm already past, right? My old age is 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. Those are old ages to me. I've already experienced what that's like. The new ages, of course, when I'm going to 40, if I'm going to 50, if I'm going to 60, my brain has different developmental changes. I start to feel, see, perceive the world in a completely different reality. So the one thing that they got us to start believing is that we're dying from the moment that we are conceived.
Right.
You understand me? As soon as you get in life, they start to call you old, right? So, you know, as human beings, understanding cycles of reality is more important. We're not going through particular, you know, I'm 30 years old or 50 years old. I'm just going through different cycles. For me, I go through different levels of ascension, right? I've been through the stage where I questioned all reality, right? And that's important, especially in your more formidable years where you're young and you're deciding who you are, right, and the things that you believe. So for me, I went through this stage where I questioned everything, right? So I'm studying every single book. I'm looking at all different parts of knowledge so that I can understand and correlate what are the things that everybody disagree with and what are the things that everybody agree with, right? Now, fundamentally, I believe that each book is just telling us that we're God, and it's giving us an operation manual of how to deal with what it's like to be God. Now, shout out my moms. I was talking to her in the dressing room, and I was talking about this movie that I watched. This movie was about this guy who was essentially, he had an office. Before people come to Earth, they're souls. Now, they exist in this domain where they don't feel anything, right? But everybody wants to apply to become the Earth. So he's sitting at his desk, and these souls come to him. They get to watch TV, and he asks them questions. On TV, it's through the eyes of people that experience reality in life, right? So he asking these what seems like very mundane or very uninteresting questions, but he's trying to get a sense of this type of soul and if they can handle Earth or not. Now, this particular gatekeeper, right, he experienced recently sending somebody to Earth that ended up committing suicide. So now he's more careful about the souls that he sends to Earth. So they're around this table and they're asking this question about, you know, what is some experience that you've seen on, as you've been watching other people's experiences. They ask people to name funny things or stuff like that. So people naming off these crazy random experiences. It's this black guy and this white girl that are the candidates to go to Earth. Black girl, she named this crazy experience of somebody on the toilet and everybody's laughing. Then the white guy, he starts to talk about, you know, something that was terrible that he's seen, that somebody was killing somebody and some murder. And she was like, wow, why did you pick that experience? That's not common. That don't happen all the time. You just pick something that just happened randomly. He was like, no, that happens all the time on Earth. This actually happens every single day. Somebody's getting killed, somebody's getting stabbed, somebody's getting murdered, somebody's getting raped. Like, you know, it's crazy down there, right? So you say, why aren't you focusing on those things? The lovely things you can get through. The crazy things is what you got to watch out for. So after that, they showed a scene, and the guy decided to deny her application to be alive, right? And, of course, the white guy, he was able to go on because he was prepared for life. But the concept to me that I took away from it was the fact that we all choose to be here knowing the experience of reality, right? And the greatest thing about that is that even when we go through ups and downs, even when we go through bads, all of those emotions that we feel is life, right? Everything that we feel in reality is the experience of life, right? Whether you are in a sad mode, whether you're happy, whether you're joyful, whether you're broke, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, all of this is life to be grateful for. And so when you choose an experience, right, to be alive, you're giving an opportunity that the other souls didn't have, right? And so there's a quality of being appreciative and viewing life from this position that I chose to be here. And so every emotion that I have is the most grateful experience of reality. So that's why I say gratefulness is a tactic to win the war of life.
Absolutely.
There's always somebody in the lesser position. There's always somebody in the in a better. But we tend to focus only on the people in the better. But when you're grateful, you remember when you didn't have what you have.
That's right.
You remember when you didn't know what you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I chose to be, you know, fly, charismatic, communicator, you know what I'm saying, with influence, you know what I'm saying, high-level consciousness and high-level conversation. So I'm appreciative of the reality that I'm living in.
I'm loving it.
You understand me?
I'm loving it.
And I chose to be alive at this time.
Absolutely. We definitely chose to be here. There's no doubt.
That's how I think about it. I chose to be alive at this time. With the crazy presidents and all those things. You could have chose any other time in history. You chose to be alive during this time. That's the way I choose to think about life, so that I can realize that ain't nothing happening to me. I made this choice to be here. Somebody showed me every bad and good moment of life, and I still said, I want to go experience
Still said, give it to me. I believe that wholeheartedly. I realized what you just said. I realized this when I was 7 years old. 7 years old, I was living in Miami in Opelika. Some of you may know the story. I was extremely poor. Holes in my shoes. I used to put cardboard in my shoes to keep my feet from touching the street. 2 pairs of pants. You know, it was just really bad. Hard living. We had no food. We would put Cairo syrup, which is that clear syrup, on toast. I would eat matzah crackers and butter because they would donate, the church would donate matzah to us, cases of matzahs, liquid, you know, powdered milk and all this crazy stuff. So I saw my friends going to the ice cream truck every single day. Every day they're going to the ice cream truck. And they live in the same neighborhood I'm living in, and we're just as poor. I'm thinking, how poor can we be that we can't even get a bubble gum from the ice cream truck? And so I went in the house and I said, I got to do something about this. I went and took all of my toys. I put them in a Winn-Dixie grocery store milk crate, and I went door to door. Ma'am, sir, any donation for any of my toys, a penny, a dollar, nickel, whatever you can spare. I'm just trying to make money from the ice cream truck. And I took a picture, a famous picture of me, which my cousin took with me holding the money I made that day. It was only about maybe $17, $18. But the fact was, I knew I sacrificed something that I didn't need anymore, and I created an energy exchange for something so that I can get what I wanted, and I knew something powerful was there. What I learned was there's nobody coming to save me. I was going to save myself. I understood the power of conscious thought backed by action. I understood that I was the creator of my own, getting back to what you're saying, the creator of my own reality, that I altered my reality. I realized at that moment that I traveled in time, that what I did literally was I set my consciousness into the future to make a decision and view an outcome before it even happened. What does that mean? I said, if I take the toys, now I'm traveling in time. Now my mind is traveling in time. I take the toys, if I go door to door, if I sell these toys, I'm going to have money. That money is going to give me the ability to get what I want from this truck. And when that happened and it all worked out exactly as I thought it was going to happen, I realized I'm never going to lack in my life ever again because it's up to me.
You know, I always say 80% mindset, 20% skill set. Because if you have the right mindset, you can master any skill set, right? So this is why masters of the mind have the capability of bringing anything that they want, right? You know, back in the day, you had people like Reverend Ike. He was one of the greatest prosperity teachers to ever exist. Shout out to Reverend. If he was at my church, man, if I went to his church, shit, I would have been there every day.
Yeah.
Because he was powerful. You understand? Because he knew the science of mentalism, the science of the mind. And he was teaching people how to be God. Right? He was like, when you pray, you're not praying outside yourself.
Right.
You're praying to give yourself permission for the things you want.
That's it.
And I was like, damn, that's so powerful, right? Because a lot of times we get mad because we don't answer our own prayers.
Right. Exactly.
Right? We be sitting there, knees on the ground, hands up, praying for shit. And then the next day you don't go work to get it.
Right.
Now you mad.
Yeah.
See, I was taught that work is better than prayer.
Yeah.
Right? But I was taught that prayer is better than sleep.
Right.
Right? So when you are silent and you working, that's a form of prayer. But when you are complaining, that's prayers to the devil.
Right.
Right? So just by working, you're being grateful to God. Right? You're saying, thank you for giving me this ability.
Right.
Thank you for giving me this power. Now I'm about to bring it into a reality. So back in the day, I was looking, I think it was ancient Sumerians. I think it was the word of Vad. I may be wrong, but they was talking about how this was the word for prayer, and they showed the humans praying to these giants, right? But the difference was they said that it wasn't that they were praying, right, for the gods to do something for them. They were praying to work for the gods.
Right.
So we have a backwards reality now where we're always praying for God to do something. First of all, imagine somebody bringing you into reality, then you asking them to do something else. That's a little selfish. That's like you going to your parents and asking them to work for you. You understand me? No, you're supposed to work for God.
Right.
So
this is a big
that's
topic.
the reality I think about.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I have to stop you right there for one second because what you just said is so powerful. I don't think people really understand the magnitude of it. What we do as people on this planet is we try to turn our concept or idea of whatever God is for you, we try to turn that into a slave. We need to win this football game. And you got a team praying to win the game. We need to win this war. We need to do this. We need that. I need you to pay my car payment. I need you to take care of my kids' tuition for college.
Yeah.
And then you see, and then when it doesn't happen, it's because, well, that was the Lord's will.
Right.
That was the Lord's will that didn't happen for me. Instead of taking ownership, and realizing that you've already been given the divine power. It's in your body. You've been given a divine consciousness that can link and sync up with any mind throughout the entire universe to download anything and make any connection that you need to plug in, play where you need it to be to make the thing that you need to happen manifest. And understand and know, my prayer, how I pray, is it is done. That's my prayer. My prayer is completion before completion. When I get on an airplane, I don't beg and pray and hope that the plane makes it to its destination. I say, I command that I land at my destination. I close my eyes and I envision the plane route to where it's supposed to drop me off. That's my prayer. I'm not praying over my food. Please, the hands have made it, and I want it to be healthy for my body. Ham hocks and macaroni and cheese ain't good for your body. You can pray over it all you want. You're still going to get diabetes and heart attacks. Okay? We have to start using logic when we're dealing with the God body and the understanding of what God really is. We have to start acting like we are operating as a God. And you got to say to yourself, well, if I was God, and I am now, what would I really do? And start making decisions based off of logical choices instead of things like praying over candy bars and all kind of crazy stuff.
That's fire, because one of my key practices is, reverse engineering wins, right? So I talk about this all the time. And I got this from when I was a child. We used to have to do drill competitions, right? So it was a military drill style, left face, right face, mark face. So instead of Simon Says, right, we did Muhammad Says.
Okay.
So whatever Muhammad says, you have to do it. Now, we'd win bean pies, we'd win $20. But I used to think about it, right? Before I went in there, I would not visualize doing perfect in the drill competition. I would visualize eating the pie, right?
Boom.
I would visualize the $20. I would visualize everybody clapping and patting me on the shoulder saying that I was good. So now my brain is not distracted, right, with an action that I already know how to do. It is only focused with getting to that end goal, right? So I do that now this day. I visualize at the end of this high-level conversation people with these beautiful testimonials. Oh, man, it was magnificent. It changed my life. 19 Keys was just glowing. You understand me? I visualize that. Somebody gonna say that. You understand me? when we came up with the idea of doing a high-level conversation, we only had 2 weeks to do it. I think maybe 2-3 weeks. I was like, bro, he told me the date that he had. We talked to the talent agency. I was like, well, we got to do it on this date. This is the only time he booked out for the next 10 years. So, we got to do it.
That's facts.
But I didn't say, I got to have the best marketing and best branding. I started to visualize, right? The only goal that I had, it was one goal that I had, and it was to put up the post, sold out.
That's it. Boom.
That was it.
Yeah.
So everything else that I was doing was leading me to that post. Right? I could have made that post beforehand. I was just waiting. Yo, what's the numbers? Update me. Right? And I didn't even do it based on maximization. I was so confident. I just knew. I said, how many people we need to pay? They said 860. I said, it's done. Right? I can't wait to put out this post that says sold out. Then I said, I'm not even going to ask all my peers. I'm not going to ask everybody to post it. I'm going to just show this is the power where we at now.
That's the power.
Right? So anything that you do, don't just visualize the point. I teach this to my students. If you're going for a bullseye, right? If you want to do bullseye, and this is the whole idea of always going for more than you need, right? If you want to hit that dartboard, you don't go for the edge of the board, right? Because you most likely go put a hole in the wall, right? But here's the key. If you're going for 100,000 and you make your goal 1 million, you're going to act in a surplus and abundance. So even if you lose by 90%, you still at your goal.
Exactly.
So with the dartboard target, if I make my goal is just to hit the board, but if I make it the bullseye, not just the bullseye, I want to be like right there and smack in the middle.
Right in the middle.
So even if I'm like a little off on the green side of the red or a little out, I still have a high percentage rate where it's pretty good. But a lot of you all, this is like making your goal to your exact target is aiming for the edge of the board. Right? So now you're not hitting it. No, you have to go for perfection. So even if you're not perfect, you're still landing on your goal.
Man, I got to say something about this, man. That's powerful. Wow. So my first goal, my first big financial goal was to make $1 million. So I wrote myself a check.
You get money.
So I wrote myself a check for $1 million.
Yeah.
I got $3 million. I sold a dot-com company that I had in 2004. I try to tell people I had money long before
Come on, talk to him, Billy, man.
Before the social media.
Billy been had Billy's, man.
I didn't get no money from selling T-shirts.
Billy been Billy been getting money. That's what he's telling y'all. I've been getting money for a long time.
For a long, long time.
Okay, he got ancient money.
Okay, and so, and it's not bragging. I'm just letting people know, like,
no, it's okay to brag.
This is the reality of it, you know? So, the next time I had hit that goal, I went past that goal, obviously, right? I sold a dot-com company that I formed in 1998 and 2004 for $3 million. There's actually some other money that came behind that, but the main bulk of it was that. The next goal that I had set was a $20 million. I wrote myself a $20 million check. All right, I gave myself a deadline on the check. The checks, I write dates on my checks. And I ended up hitting that goal. I got the $20 million.
Hold up.
Took me 10 years, but I got the $20 million. I think it was in 2017. Then I wrote myself a check for, I was going to write myself a check for $1 billion. And then I said,
Can you read that out real quick? Just that right there.
Yeah. Let me borrow something. 19 million.
I want to see if it worked. You know what I'm saying? I had to try it out.
So let me tell you how doubt creeps in. So I was going to write the check for $1 billion. And then I said, no. So then I started writing it for like 200 million.
Yeah.
I said, maybe be more realistic with myself.
Okay.
And then I stopped myself. And I said, no. What am I doing? I ripped that thing up, man, into 1,000 pieces, got another check out, and wrote it out for $1 billion. I gave myself an expiration date of October of 2026 that I must cash this check for $1 billion. And right now, my company is on track to hit that goal, Forbidden Knowledge.
Hey.
You have to be confident. You put the conscious thought, you travel to the future with that conscious thought, you collapse all the multiple possibilities into one reality, and then you work backwards from there and you put all the actionable steps in to reach that goal.
That's that Billy Carson. Billy Carson, it's different now. You know what I'm saying? It's that Billy Carson. You got to put the big B on the Billy now, man. It's just different.
Yeah. I just realized I'm the type of person that I'm helping a lot of people, just like you helping people. And I help people in a big way, in big numbers.
Yeah.
If you look me up and do the research on me, I've given away over $12 million in assistance to people in the last 15
Clap
years.
for that.
Thank you. And so, to whom much is given, much is required. I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Yes, sir.
I believe in that statement. And I give back a lot. I think last year we paid $16,000 worth of electric bills for single parents with final notice electric bills. We do a lot of stuff.
Yes, sir.
But so I can't do that if I'm in a robe and slippers on a prepaid track phone.
Nah.
Trying to make memes.
Yeah.
It's not gonna help anybody. I want to be the biggest blessing I can be to humanity, and for that to happen, I have to manifest abundance and a legacy, and I have to believe that manifesting that legacy is going to give me the capability of helping other people as well.
You know, that reminds me earlier. You know Black Magic, right? And I did a show with him, and I remember back in the day, and I was giving a breakdown about, you know, my ideas around money consciousness.
Yeah.
And one of them was, right, you know, a lot of people, they tap into different chakras, but most people don't tap into their money chakras, right? And that's your ability to be able to produce and magnify, you know, money in abundance, right? Because money is just energy. So it's a certain type of energy signature that you increase it into reality. But I remember talking about the power of being selfish, right? And see, this is where I think it's super key, because first you have to go through a phase where you're focusing on just yourself, right? Selfish, right? Now, I didn't say you all about yourself, but it's my selfish phase.
You have to.
I have to focus on producing with a laser focus the things that are in my head. Nothing can get in my way. Anybody that is around me has to help me, right? Or they have to get away from me.
True.
So I go through those phases of being selfish, right? The same way if you see a woman that's pregnant, she can be selfish. It's all about her because she has something that she's bringing to term. Right? So if anybody gets in the way of that, oh no, you want this pregnant woman to work for you all day long, right? To think about you, then the person gonna say you being selfish.
Right, exactly.
Right? But that power of it, right, is that self-reinforcing system to where all of the energy that you have is looping back into you and is magnifying your ability to produce things outward. Right? So after you go through that selfish phase and you build yourself up with abundance, now you can be selfless. Right? Because now you have to give away.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of people who are stuck in this loop, a lot of times because of religion, society pressures. It's saying when you get 10, you got to give away $1. Right? You got to give away 2. No. If I'm broke, I'm not giving away nothing.
No. Can't do it.
I need all of it.
You need it.
But when I get to, oh, now I got 100,000 in the bank. You need $10. Come on, bro. You need more than that. You know what I'm saying? I can give away now. Therefore, the most selfish people, right, are the poorest people. Right? See, there's certain of us that understand that you have so much gifts that you have to give in a magnitude. I can't just teach one person. That's selfish of me. Right? If I was to be a teacher in a high school and I'm just teaching a class, people gonna say that's honorable, but I'm broke making somewhere around $30,000, $40,000 a year. No, we're not doing that. No. I want to be able to teach millions of people. So when I told my bro Mechi, who do all the videography, right, he do all the editing, we had an office out in Hayward, California, and this was probably around maybe like 5, 6 years ago, when I was forming the idea process around 19 keys. Because when I form something, I look at it as a psychic entity, right? Most people think that I'm 19 keys. I'm not. I represent it. So that's why I say everybody is a key, right? But I just happen to be 19 keys because that 19 is a representation of truth and enlightenment, and that's the way that I choose to represent how I open the minds. But the reality was, I said, bro, and we sitting at the desk, and we just in common conversation. I'm saying, but I'm so deep in my belief system of this, I said that I'm going to create this entity, 19 keys, I'm going to represent it. It will be known all around the world for enlightening people across the globe. Now, we sitting across at the desk, he just like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Not that he didn't not believe me. You understand me? But you know, it's hard to fathom. You sitting in there, you at the same desk with me, brother. You understand me? But I went out there and I had a goal of projection. Right? How do I project? And this is a key when you're speaking, right? When you're speaking, if you want to be a great speaker, you have to first have a thought in your head. Right? Let's say in my mind, I just visualize a shape. The shape that I visualize is a red circle. Right, with no inner circle, right? So it's a red circle that's hollow. What I just did is I took a thought that was in my head and I put it in your head. That thought has a particular thought pattern in my head. So when you're talking to people, you're communicating and you're putting thoughts in the head by building it up piece by piece until they walk away with the same exact ideas and thought patterns that you have. That's an effective communicator and a great speaker. So anytime you're speaking to people, you first have to have the intentionality of what is it that I want to design, convey, and put inside the mind. We all have a series of consciousness just like water. Water changes proton arrangements, it goes into a different shape. We have the ability, just like water, to be in multidimensional shapes consistently based on the way that our brain arranges the knowledge and the energy that's within us. But I wanted to talk about something that I believe that is key. Because I know one of the things that most people have as an issue, right, is communication, number one, but specifically being understood. Average person don't want to get in front of a camera, don't even want to talk to nobody, don't want to confront nobody, Because even though human beings have to verbally communicate to each other, we're not the best at doing it.
Right.
So we get into fights, we get into altercations, we have to break up with people, right? We don't have emotional resilience, intelligence, and experience to be able to deal with that. So what I've learned recently, and I'm on a trip to travel and teach everybody about this, is nonviolent communication.
Right.
Nonviolent communication is when, you know, I grew up in the Nation of Islam, right, under a militant guide where, you know, I grew up with very masculine men and women. Not masculine women, but feminine women, but masculine men. Now I grew up, it's a lot of masculine women. But when I was younger, though, I was always around soldiers. And soldiers speak from a war mind.
Yeah.
So we're going to be defensive or it's going to be offensive.
Yeah.
Right? Because we always in defense or offense.
Right.
Those are the two from the soldier standpoint.
Yeah.
So I may tell you something, but the way that I say it, it may defend you.
Right.
Or may offend you and put you in a defensive position.
Right.
So I learned now, it's like, I don't ever want to be misunderstood, but that's the point of me communicating. So now when I learned to speak, the example is that you have to, you know, first observe, you have to identify the problem, right? Point it out, and then identify the solution that comes along with it. So if a mother is dealing with her son and she say, you know, the room is dirty, you got trash everywhere. You understand me? Now, somebody may come in there and be like, yo, why you ain't cleaned this shit up yet?
Yeah.
I know some of y'all that heard that. You understand me? Instead, they be like, listen, this whole room is dirty, you know, there's trash everywhere, right? You observing the problem, you identifying what the issue is. Then you say, okay, now you want to present a solution. You know, one thing you can do is if you start cleaning on this side of the room and you work your way over to this side, the room will be clean, right? Because I won't be angry at you. I won't be mad. You identifying your emotions that go along with it, and then you have to give an order, right? That order, so you're taking people through this range of understanding.
Right.
Here's the problem. These are emotions that I feel, right? Here's the solution, and this is the order in order to get it done.
Right.
Now, if a person defies that, you can get violent.
I know.
But we have to learn, especially as a people, to communicate with each other, right? Because we can't take critique, we can't create criticism, but we can critique and criticize everybody else.
Right, right.
Right? And so learning this puts us in a better position to be aligned, especially when we're dealing with our tribe.
Yeah.
You can be in a relationship that took you years to build up, and it can be destroyed from one conversation.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? So mastering communication is also the master of ability to master frequency and waves.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's all we're saying. You program with the same language so you understand it.
Right.
But a person that masters themselves, they actually master everything around them.
Right.
So you're forced to feel what I feel, because that is the intent projected in the vibration, in my vocal tone, in my voice.
Right.
Right? Now, you are very, it's something I've been wanting to ask you about, and I talked about it to you on the phone. When you speak from one frequency. I've never noticed a fluctuation in your frequency when you speak, and it's from a place of high confidence, right?
Yeah.
It's never a place of questioning. That's a different frequency.
Yeah.
It's not even a place of philosophy. It's a place of fact,
Yeah.
right? It's always exuding, I'm not questioning this. This is what I know. Now this is what you know.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
How did you particularly, or number one, are you cognitive of your particular state when you speak? And how did you develop to get yourself to that point?
To be honest with you, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me this question.
That's because I'm 19 keys.
It's 19 keys. Let's ask you this question. It's going to be a weird answer.
Uh-oh. Somebody in the bush again.
It's me in the bush. So I project myself outside of myself, and I talk to myself when I'm speaking. That's what I do. That's the honest to God. That's the honest to God truth. You ask me the question. Nobody's ever asked me this question. So what I do is I literally, when I'm standing up speaking, I've been in lectures, and I've probably done over 1,000 lectures and workshops. I send myself out, and I watch myself talk, and I observe myself as I'm a person in the actual audience listening to myself talk, and then I'm teaching myself. And so I have the confidence, I have the strength, I have the power, because I know this version of me knows exactly what's going on, what to say, and what the answers are. And then as myself on the other end, the reason why I do that is because now I'm understanding how I'm perceiving as a person who may have a lower level of knowledge. And so I'm breaking it down from this position. It's kind of complicated in a way that myself can understand it if I didn't know as much. And which is why I've been able to communicate with so many vast arrays of topics and so many people, because I could take complex ideas and concepts and break it down and make it simple and understandable for the average person. But I do it to myself.
I love it, B. So it's funny because the next thing I wanted to talk about was astral projection versus dreams, right? Now, I can understand that 1,000% because I believe that's the same thing as projecting yourself into the future. You're putting yourself into a state to where you're living your future life in this moment, and then you're working up to experience that point.
Right.
Now, what you was giving down is a very dope breakdown. There's a curse of knowledge where the teacher has the inability to put themselves in the student's mind.
Right.
So they only teach from their perspective. So it's always above people or people who already understand you.
Yeah.
But you design, because I look at design thinking. So the way that you're designing, the way that you communicate is with empathy, right? So empathy allows you to project yourself into the minds of others to feel what they may feel, right? So instead of saying, hey, I'm smarter than you and I'm going to say everything smart, no, I understand you, so I'm going to speak from your level to bring it up to my level.
Right.
Right? So if you practice that, and I want y'all to really understand, that key was very powerful. Practicing that right now, like if I'm practicing that right now and I'm looking at somebody at the top and they like, man, I didn't understand none of that, right? But it's breaking down of looking yourself in the third person, as if you are controlling your avatar.
Correct.
So you're listening to your voice fluctuation, because everything about ourselves we can design, right? And design creates interaction.
Yeah.
So people interact with us based on our design. If you look at a doorknob and it says turn left, you have to interact with that design, right? So if my stomach in, chest out, head up, right, it automatically projects confidence, right? So now you're going to be more confident within me because of the way I design myself, right? Now, if you're sitting in this audience, right, and I'm utilizing my hands, I want to project myself. I want you to understand that everything that you see, right, is a projection of consciousness and design, right? Me and Billy Carson are both human beings who learn how to design ourselves in a capacity so that we can complete the goals that we want. I understood when I was projecting to live the reality of 19 keys, the person that came up with the thought was not qualified to be 19 keys. He didn't have the knowledge that he has. He didn't have the money that he has. He didn't have the wisdom. He didn't have the learning ethics. He didn't have the ability to do it. So I understood, and this comes to another thought. I'm watching this movie about dimensions. I forget what it's called, right? But it's about the multiverse.
Okay.
It's with the Asian lady. I forget her name. What I do is I think about, right, that version of myself, right, that alternate version of myself that has everything that I want, and I project that into myself and I download that thought process. There's a version of 19 Keys who is the greatest speaker in the world. So now I'm thinking, now how does this brother sound? How does this person talk?
Right.
If I want to be a bodybuilder, there's a version of 19 Keys, man, he buff as Brown Creed. You understand me? He always working out, always got the protein shakes. He walks a certain way, talks a certain way, oiling himself up, always on social media taking pictures. This is this person. Actors do this a lot of times, right? So you can really think about a different version of yourself, not the current person you are. And I used to do this through transcendental states of meditation because I used to always, what is the future version of myself? So I used to go into my mind and I get to this place where my mind is quiet, and then I will project another version there and they sitting in front of me, right? So it's this room. And I know I've reached that state when it's like calmly there. So now when I'm sitting in front of another version of myself, I then try to project myself inside of their head, right? And the deeper I can go, it lets me know the deeper state that I'm in, which allows me to know that this is a deep, I can program myself. So I used to get into this. This was when I was young, right? So I'm like you, I just be sitting at home doing all of this meditative, you know what I'm saying, Yoda stuff, thought experiments. But I really wanted to become more than what I was. So I used to ask myself questions. How did you get to look so good? How did you have so much money? How did you pull her? You understand me? How you know so much? right? Why are you so goddamn fly and drippy all the time? And then I would imagine the conversations that I would have. So what it would do is it forced my brain to reconstruct.
Right.
Right? Not from the brain that I have now, because now I'm only projecting based on what I know. Now I'm putting myself in the body of someone who knows more. So it's stretching my brain and forcing it to think in different ways.
Right.
So these are the thoughts experiments that I used to run on myself, and I do till this day.
Yeah.
So that's my way of going into the future. And I always say the only person that I'm jealous of is my future self.
Yeah.
He got everything I want. I ain't gonna lie. Man, bro, living it up right now. Ain't he? God damn, boy. That boy look good though. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of him, but I want it. You feel me? So, but I want to know the difference between dreams and astral projection.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you know, there are certain messages that I've gotten in a dream that I remember.
Yeah.
Right? Forever. Because, you know, of the messenger and the quality of the idea that was impregnated in my mind. Right? And then there are certain dreams that I have when I wake up, I'm angry because of the dream that I had.
Right.
I can have a dream about somebody and I'm mad at them because of what they did in the dream. Right. I'm like, that was some sucker shit you did, bro. Come on, man. And I had to remind them, nah, that's the energy from the dream. That ain't even them.
Yeah.
Right? But dreams are real.
Dreams
right?
are real. Dreams are real.
So your dream state, you know, we live, you know, in our dream 30% of our lives, however much, depending on how much sleep you get, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't dream. Some people don't dream in color. Some people never lucid dream.
Right.
How many people ever lucid dream?
Peace family, 19 Keys tapping in, and this episode is brought to you by Goldwater. Now, sleep is probably the one most important thing that a human being can do. I know people used to tell you, come on now, entrepreneurs don't sleep and things of that nature. Don't listen to that. That's complete bullcrap. You need your rest, right? Now, the importance is that the universe has, or nature itself has aligned the body, right, with a circadian rhythm. At 10 o'clock, we naturally are supposed to stop eating and our body starts to secrete a fluid, making us tired, right, known as melatonin. Those who have heard of this understand this. We often disrupt that process because we have artificial lights, blue lights within the day, and by the time we go to sleep, we never get into that deep beta delta wave sleep, right? Now, this is not good. You want to get into that deep REM sleep because at night, what happens while you're sleeping, your body is resting and regenerating, processing all the information from the day. Your cells are going there healing. Your body is digesting the food, clearing out your colons and the rest of your body. So when you wake up, you're clear and you're operating at optimal function. Now, one of the issues in society today is a lot of people don't dream. When they do dream, they don't dream in color, right? Or when they do dream, they don't have lucid dream. And a lucid dream is when the dreamer realizes they're dreaming. That means that you have power over your subconscious faculties. The same way you have power in the lucid dream when you can control everything in your reality, it's the same way you can have power in a lucid woke state. But the lucid dream allows you to be able to figure out complex ideas and things that's going on in your own life and take control over it, right? But everybody doesn't even know how to operate in that standard of reality that every human being has the possession to be able to tap inward to. We have great testimonials when it comes to Goldwater that our customers and our clients are always coming back and say, yo, I had my first deep dream in a long time. I've had great sleep. So sometimes I would take Goldwater right before I go to sleep. I also take it when I wake up in the rising. So it gives me that energy, it gets me started. I take it on an empty stomach 30 seconds before I eat anything in my stomach, and I take it at night. So it helps me secrete that melatonin, that electrify my brain, tapping into that third eye, decalcifying my pineal gland. So by the time I wake up, I am abundant, I am refreshed, I am ready to go, as all human beings should. Listen, I don't know what you're doing right now, but make sure you get a great night's sleep so you can wake up refreshed, and then do it on the go and see if you're more in that electrical mode. Tap in.
Right? So there's a large percentage of people, lucid dreamers is when the dreamer realizes they're dreaming, right? And they have control over the reality of the dream.
Yeah.
So you can fly. Those are my greatest dreams. I love flying in my dream, man. But I got all of these different weird ways I can fly in my dreams. Sometimes I got to flap my hands like a bird. Sometimes I'm on some Dragon Ball Z, I'm just flying. Some I'm on some Superman. Sometimes I got to run and jump like Mario Kart with the tail. It's just different ways. But once I'm in the air, it's up and it's stuck.
Right.
But when I was younger, I used to astral project.
Okay.
I'm talking about as a child.
Yeah.
Right?
It's easier then, actually.
Because you know, in a child, you don't have all these barriers to what reality is and what is not.
Exactly.
You exist in a dream state at all times.
Yeah.
So as a child, the reason I knew it was astral projection because I used to go to places that I'd never been before, and I used to do it on purpose. So I'm in the hood, right? So I had to travel very far to go to a nice place, right? So I didn't want to just go to the corner store. I'm going all the way to the museums. I'm going all the way up to different places, and I'm looking at it vividly, like outside of reality, and I'm traveling. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, right? But I didn't know if everybody experienced this, so I wasn't having these conversations. Right?
Yeah.
But, and here's the thing. Y'all probably think I'm crazy for this one. I once pulled some money out my dream.
Yeah.
No, y'all think I'm playing. I'm dead serious. You understand me? I pulled the money. I was holding on it so tight in my dream. I woke up with it in my hand. I swear, listen, to this day, I believe that 100%. And I've been trying to do that ever since. So I want to know, what's the difference between dreaming and astral? I feel like I must have mixed the two at that time and pulled something out in the physical world.
Well, you know, both realms are real. The dream state, this state is actually more of an illusion to me than the dream state. And if you can get into the theta and you can get into a deep sleep and you can get to the dream state, a lot of that to me is different types of information coming from different dimensions.
Yeah.
So scientists did an experiment on the human brain of a person in a deep sleep. And they found that the neurons which are firing in between the, let's call it synapses. The synapses that were firing in between the neurons, were phasing in and out of existence.
Yeah.
And they were like, the scientists were like, where the hell are these synapses? Where are they going? They're here, and then all of a sudden, they're not here. So they brought in some theoretical physicists, and they realized, based on hypothesis and other mathematical calculations, that they were going to other dimensions and then coming back. But coming back maybe with more information from other realms, the multiverse. Kind of like the movie you just talked about.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. And then, so some people have those kind of dreams where they can't control what's going on. Lucid dreaming is my specialty. That's what I specifically love to do.
That goal ought to get you there, boy.
Yeah, it gets you. I love to be able to control my dream. And I typically, when I'm going to say that I'm going to have a night full of dreams, I figure out what I'm going to want to manifest into my life.
Yeah.
And then I go in, guiding myself in, and then I go into a dream as if that, whatever I'm trying to manifest, already exists. So if it's a house, I'm already in that house. If it's a relationship, I'm already in that relationship. Whatever it is, if it's playing a new instrument, I'm already playing the instrument in front of a group of people like I'm in a concert. And so those are the kind of lucid dreams I like. Now, astral projection gets a little bit different because what's happening now is you're separating the ba from the ka, okay? You know, you have the mer, ka, ba, and you're separating the ka from the ba. You're separating the spirit from the body. And what you're doing is you're getting into a state of mind where you divide or separate pure consciousness from the physical avatar body. And now, it's easier to do when you're young. You brought that up. It's much easier when a child does it because they don't have the barriers. They don't have the programming. They don't have limitations from people telling them, man, that's silly and that's dumb. And all the programming coming from TV and their teachers and the schooling and all the other institutions that exist didn't happen fully yet. So they have the capability a lot easier than it would be an adult. I had an experience doing that when I was a kid in Opelika. We would go to this dry cleaning, or this, we call it a wash house. Now they call it dry cleaners. But back then, you go there to wash your clothes. There's no AC. There's no windows. It's 100 degrees on the pavement. And I was so hot, and I sat down on the pavement. You don't have to be sleeping to do an astral projection. I sat down on the pavement, and without knowing anything about this, I did an astral projection. What I did was I sent myself to Alaska. I said, it's so hot here, I want to just try something.
Right.
I sent myself to Alaska.
To Alaska.
To Alaska. And listen to me. I was there. When I came out of this thing, when I popped back in my body, and it's like a little pop, my skin was cold to the touch. And I knew I had touched on something really amazing. Now, I didn't do it for a long time after that, but the next time I was able to do it, I was actually a grown man by then. That particular time, I'm not gonna lie to you, I felt like I had a problem getting back in my body, and finally found my way back, and then I never tried it again, because you know, right now I kind of like my body. Yeah. I wasn't ready to float around forever.
That used to happen. I used to get, it was like, you know, when you have sleep paralysis where you wake up before your body does. Yeah. And I believe that used to happen when I used to astral project. You understand me? My consciousness was there, but my body wasn't ready yet. Right. You understand? I used to hate that, right? Yeah. Wake up and you still can't move, right? Because you're in those in-between states and you're waiting for your consciousness or your soul, whatever, to completely get back into your avatar. Yeah. Then you can take control. Right. Right? I know they go, you know, scientific reasons and all that, but that's what I like to believe. Right? Yeah, yeah. Now, before we leave out of here, man, it's two things. I want you to talk about the crystals inside the mind. And then, if y'all don't mind, I want to end it out with a visualization meditation. Yeah. Right?
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so inside of the human brain, we have billions of magnetite crystals. Now, I did a whole show on crystals because crystals are actually sentient living beings because they can replicate everything that a human being can do. Everything from growing, to replicating, to thinking, to communicating, and we know this through standard science. They can create their own energy. If you have anybody here who has an actual, a Bic lighter, when you flick that thing on the Bic, that's not a little spark coming out of like some flint. That's a crystal in there. Crystals are what's inside of lighters. When you put pressure on a crystal, it creates a spark. The energy comes out of the crystal. Crystals were used in what? Crystal radio sets. The first radios were based on crystals. And so we know that crystals have the capability of sending and receiving information. So now you have billions of living crystals inside of your brain. Now, we've been kind of disconnected from the emotion and understanding of the crystals are there and feeling them pick up Earth's magnetic fields, feeling what they're supposed to receive psychically, and also being able to move things with our mind. That's what those crystals are there for. In ancient times, before Homo sapiens sapien, our cousins were already here. They had the capability of doing that. Now, you look at animals with magnetite crystals in their brains. Birds flock south for the winter, go back north, they migrate, right? Animals across the Serengeti plains of Africa can navigate, go anywhere. If there's a tsunami coming in to a shore, the wild animals, they know long before the tsunami even arrives, get the heck out of here, right? They know long before it happens, but the people and the pets, they stay there and drown. They videotape it on an iPhone. They watch the water come right on top of them, right? But why is that? The magnetite crystals. Now, what's also interesting about these crystals is they actually help to encapsulate your spirit in the avatar body, but with two other mechanisms. The other mechanism is your neural correlates of consciousness, which are three giant nerves that wrap around the inside of the skull that look like a crown of thorns. Now, you all know the story of Yeshua in the Bible, who had to put on the crown of thorns. To me, it's an archetype of what really is going on inside of our minds. We all are walking around with a crown of thorns that's responsible for us to receive higher levels of consciousness. See, Jesus never said he was coming back. He said that Christ will return.
Come on, talk to him then, Billy.
And then you have your neocortex, neo from the Matrix. All right, those three things together, along with the magnetite crystals, the correlates of consciousness, the neocortex, all help to encapsulate temporally, in time, your spirit consciousness that's animating the avatar body. That's how you animate this body. When you were talking about the sleep paralysis, those things are in operation, but you weren't fully back yet because those things hadn't reactivated inside the avatar yet. So that was blocking you from getting back in. Once they reactivated or initiated themselves again, you were able to get back in and reanimate the avatar body. Without those three things, you can't animate an avatar body. That's what's allowing you to pick this thing up and move it all around. It's because of that. And so it's a powerful thing because when you understand that inside of your brain, they took a person and put him inside of a building and put this gigantic bar magnet and moved it around the room, connected his EEG to a computer, his brain to a computer via EEG, and they saw that the brain was still detecting the magnetic field, even though the person couldn't tell there was a magnetic field. So we have been through time and through industry and computer technology and everything else that we've done to ourselves. We've been disconnected from our true nature. But those crystals are still functioning. We're not even aware of it. Some people are more aware. We say they have psychic powers.
Yeah.
We say they have, you know, all these abilities.
Intuition, empaths.
Right. That's coming from the magnetite crystals in your brain.
Give it up for Billy Carson. Here you go, brother.
Hey.
I want to do this thought experiment and let you all in on what I do for myself. And I want a collective meditation. It'll be very short. But as you're sitting, number one, I'm going to want you to close your eyes at a period of time. And your goal is to try to sink into this theta wave state where you're very relaxed. And in the darkness of our mind, that's the womb. It's where we do all our work, right? And reality, because if we are synced up and we have the same collective consciousness, right, then that means that we can pour energy into a psychic entity and we can release it into reality to make it manifest change. That's how powerful we are. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said our unity is like an atomic bomb, right? Bringing those atoms in this atmosphere together to charge a new reality. I want you to first not just think about the visualization of what you want the world to be. Think about the feeling if the world became that world that you want it to be, right? The feeling charges the thoughts, propels it. I know for a fact I wish the world was different, right? Different in the way to where when I walk outside, I see more people that was like myself, right? More people that was like my brother Billy Carson or like my brothers and sisters that's in this room as well. More people that appreciated high-level consciousness and high-level conversations. But we know that's not the reality that we live in. So that we have to go in there first, energize the feeling of that to magnify the thought. So in that thought, I want you to think about this big old white bubble. It's like a orb of energy. I want you to take your collective energy and I want you to pour it into mentally. You have it in your head. And I want you to think about as you're absorbing and you're manifesting this energy, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the end of this thought process, once you open your eyes, it will release and create ripples. See, the mind is so powerful, right, that we literally send signals of light to communicate with the reality around us. This is scientific. You know what I mean? So when we talk about psychic abilities can be quantified by light fields, right? And light frequencies. So every thought that we have is a frequency inside the mind, right? It's an electricity that doesn't just exist in the mind, it exists outside your body, right? Or just doesn't exist in your brain, it exists outside your body. So I first start off, let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath. First thing I want you to feel is the air around you. Feel the temperature. Is it cold? Is it hot? Take a deep breath and feel the oxygen filling up your lungs. The oxygen get into your bloodstream, allowing your body to flow. Hear the sounds around you, the movement. You are in flow with everything. Feel your own presence and your own energy. Feel your body. Notice your body. Are there any aches? Are there any pains? Do you feel good? Feel your emotional state. Are you excited? Are you anxious? Are you sleepy? Bringing yourself to the ever-existing present. Take a deep breath. Inhale the new, exhale the old. Now I want you to visualize the person that you want to become. This high-level version of yourself that exists. Think faster, high-level memory, focus, discipline, integrity, great character, beautiful friends, great relationships, drives a very nice car, it smells so good inside. They have the best taste in clothes. They're physically fit, they're very healthy. The way that they eat, their eating habits is attuned at a higher level. They wake up and they get straight to work. They make no excuses for nothing that they do. This person that you're looking at, you just smiling in admiration on the way that they live their life. When this person walks outside, I want you to visualize the world that they're in. They love this world that they're in because things are now attuned to the way that they want it to be. There's no ignorance. The crime rate has decreased. You can see black love spreading throughout the reality. Our economic condition is great. The dollar circulates all month long without leaving that community. It's just a beautiful reality. The air feels fresh. When you walked outside, you actually own the land. When you looked at the skyscrapers, there's somebody who looks like you that owns that. When you see the police officer, well, let's just take them out. No, seriously, there's somebody who's educated that comes from that neighborhood and who has the best interests of the people there at heart. And you're just happy to live in this world because when you scroll through social media, it's nothing but beautiful things that's going on in reality. There's no complaining, no bickering, no fighting, no death. It's just life and living and joy everywhere. And most of all, man, you got so much money. I want you to pour all that energy into this light that we talked about, that exists above our heads in this room. Pour all of it into it. But you have to smile, you have to feel it, you have to mean it at a high level. Take a deep breath. I want you to become that person that you see. See, once you become that person, now you will have to work to go back to your old self. Because now you've seen the capability of who you are and you've combined your current self with your new self. Do not work to take away from all that we've done tonight. You're more disciplined, you're more satisfied and joyful with life. You have better regiments and better habits and better money and better relationships and better joy. Do not do habits that take away from that person that you've built up. Do not do things that take away from that world that you want to live in. Breathe in that energy. Breathe in that life. Breathe in that strength. Breathe in that power and know that you are God. And when you open your eyes, visualize that energy being released into the atmosphere, charging, creating a ripple across the planet Earth. And be happy that you've made change. Open your eyes. I'm 19 Keys. It's been your high-level conversation. I want to thank my staff. I want to thank CIA. I want to thank the venue, Billy Carson, my mother and father for being here. My family is in the hallway when you go get your crowns and your gold water. And I really just want to thank you all for showing up for yourself. We know we are, like I said, we are in some very dangerous times. We see what they're doing to black men all across the planet Earth. They want us to be fearful. They want us to be in this state of fear. But that's not what we gonna do, right? No. We gonna walk outside with a high level of confidence. We're not going through a recession, because recessions have to exist in the mind first for you to believe them. And then you start to project low sales number.
Exactly.
You start to project poverty. You start to project things to go wrong, and you're using your own power against yourself, creating a false reality in the future for you to live. And then you're going to be like, man, they was right. No, you was right. Right? So here, high level, this is the high level society. You understand me? We have high level consciousness. We have high level power. We have high level thinking. We eat high level foods. And we tapped in on a different level. And everybody across the planet Earth wish they was on this level. They wish their family thought like this. They wish their friends thought like this. You wish that girl with that big old booty thought like this. Come on, man, I know. You wish the fella that got all of that money with the tattoos that's a thug, you wish he was conscious. But you can't get everything wrapped in all one. It's only 119 keys. Now just listen, man, I thank y'all. I love y'all. Again, give a round of applause for Billy Carson. Oh, man. Thank y'all for being here. This has been the first stop of the High Level Conversation Tour. Each High Level Conversation will be completely different. Sometimes we on business. Sometimes we on high conversations. Sometimes we on higher consciousness, enlightenment. You never know what you get when you pull up to a high level conversation. So thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all get home safe. Peace.